Stories number 1, AITA for faking sleeping all night to see if my wife is lying. The past couple of months, my wife has been complaining about our cats. She's been claiming that the cats wake her up constantly and that she's frustrated every night that she has to get up and open the door. For the cats keep making noises, or the cats keep jumping on her. It got to the point where she started saying she wants me to get rid of them. I told her I've never seen or heard any of this, but she claims I sleep through it all. She kept telling me she was getting less and less sleep and kept acting aggressive, blaming lack of sleep from the cats, and that if I didn't get rid of them, she'd leave me. I legitimately started considering giving the cats to my sister, till I noticed something. One morning she claimed she had gotten up multiple times throughout the night to help the cats. She listed a bunch of times. I thought it was weird because I had been up until 4 a.m. She claimed that she got up at 1 a.m. to open the door for them, and a few times around 3 a.m. because they were meowing and jumping on her. I was in the bedroom the entire time while she slept, and I know none of that happened. Things weren't adding up, so I decided to run a test. I waited until she said she was going to bed. Then I let the cats out of our bedroom, lowered my phone brightness, and faked going to sleep. I just laid there in bed for the entire night, bored, but I definitely did not fall asleep. I made sure to make timestamps every 30 minutes on my phone through Discord just to be sure. I marked down every noise my cats made. One cat had jumped down from something and made a little sound at 3:18 a.m. and one ate food relatively quietly by the bedroom door at 4:57 a.m. Other than that, nothing happened. Sure enough, my wife slept from 11 p.m. until 9 a.m. And that morning she claimed she had woken up at least 7 times to open doors, and from cat noises and cats jumping on her. At this point, I was pissed because she was clearly lying to me. I was exhausted and fed up with the lies, so I just bluntly called her out on it. I told her, "That's funny. I stayed up all night to monitor the cats, and they weren't even in the room at all last night. I have timestamps and everything. So you've been lying to me and trying to convince me to get rid of my cats? Why?" She just sat there quietly shaking and looking pissed, then got up and left without answering. She came back hours later and ignored me whenever I talked. And when I asked her how I'm the bad guy in this situation, she finally said that I was treating her like a child by lying about sleeping and staying up all night just to see if she was lying or not, and that making timestamps and everything as if I was an investigator was going too far. It makes me an obsessive asshole. I did it because she was threatening to make me get rid of my cats or she'd leave me. And her claims didn't add up, so am I an obsessive asshole? Some comments from Opdot, she had cats of her own for years. She had known me and my cats for 4 years before we got married, and now she's been around them for 10 years. Never had any problems with them, even made good comments about how they liven up the place. Yeah, small apartment. Living area, bedroom, and bathroom. She refuses to sleep with the doors open. Keeping them open wasn't an option to keep the cats from wanting it out. We're just under 30. Her a little younger than I. Neither of us do recreational drugs. Thought she's on antidepressants? You are correct. I didn't want to comment in this thread anymore, but I'll reply this once. As you said, I never said I always kept them out of the room at night. The cats like to go in out of every room in the apartment, whenever they just feel like it. Midday, we keep the doors open, and they roam free. At night, we leave them where they are usually, and if they start trying open a door, we let them in. It just so happens that night I ran the test. I let them both out of the bedroom specifically so I could see how often they made loud noises to enter/exit the room. They never tried to get in. Maybe they normally make more noise. It's possible. That's not the issue, though. She lied about them making noise annoying that night. That was the big event. Also, to clarify on the communication argument, I did try to talk to her when she claimed that she got up to deal with the cats at 1 and 3. Her response was, "There is nothing to talk about," saying I was wrong and that she definitely got up at 1 and 3. Also, I'm not denying that I did anything wrong. You can say what I did wasn't the nicest step to take. It's just this commenter's go back to high school comment was very childish and unnecessary. Small. Okay, update in the comments. Well, she's gone for now. By that I mean I kicked her out of the house. Why? because she's been in the bedroom for hours now, watching YouTube, refusing to talk to me about what's happened. A few minutes ago, one of the cats started meowing and scratching to get into the room. Within seconds of him doing that, she ran over to the door and kicked it really hard and screamed, "This is all your fault. Fuck off." It scared the shit out of the cat, and he hid under the couch. I opened the door and asked her what her deal was, that it could have hurt the cat. She said, "Good. Fuck the cat." So I told her to get out of the house and go find somewhere to stay for a while. She tried to cry her way out of the situation, but I told her I had enough. I'm done. She had every opportunity to talk to me, and now she's screaming at the cats and kicking doors and scaring them. I tried to listen and offered help, but she wanted none of it. Too late as she was leaving, I told her she can call me when she's calmed down and willing to talk. I'm just so drained at this point. I tried. I gave her a chance to talk before all of this, and she insisted there was nothing to talk about. I may not have handled it the most mature way, sure, but I tried. Maybe this can be fixed, maybe not. I had hope a few hours ago now. Whatever. I'm so sorry. I think I'm done replying for now. Just so much going on. So much to think about. Too many trollish comments and messages. Too many people coming up with conspiracy theories. Too many people who can't read or bother to check my comments. It's all so tiresome. Life is fun, though. Update. Aita for faking sleeping all night to see if my wife is lying. My wife has been Baker acted. She did not hurt herself, just said something concerning in public. I got a call from the hospital this morning, asking me to head over for some family therapy. Apparently, she finally wanted to talk. I'll be honest, pretty pissed at the reason why she's been so hateful towards my cats. It's absolutely asinine. It's nothing that anyone had suggested. She's not cheating. She's not sick physically or mentally. She's not bored of the relationship and looking for an out. According to her, one of the cats stepped on her laptop and ruined a story she was writing. She's hated both cats ever since. I mean, that sucks. But it's not worth trying to emotionally blackmail me into getting rid of them. I asked her why she didn't just tell me the truth and why she'd been lying and refused to talk about it when I'd asked. Her answer was because you wouldn't have gotten rid of them otherwise, and explained that when she saw I wasn't willing to abandon them for her, she took offense and made it a goal to have me pick her over them. Sickening. Don't know why she actually admitted to it all. The woman with us asked me how I felt about all of it, and I just told the truth. I told her it was a nice run, but I'm probably going to want a divorce. I was asked why, and I told them. I've seen a new hateful, malicious side of her that I want nothing to do with. She was so set on getting rid of the cats over a fanfiction being ruined that she manipulated her husband. My wife started shouting at me that I've betrayed her and that I'm scum for choosing animals over her. At least cats don't give ultimatums like she gave. It sucks that she's been Baker acted and all, I guess. But it's for the best right now. She'll have time to process it all in a safe environment and hopefully come to terms with it. Bad husband, I know. I'm almost sure I'm going for divorce. I'm very worried about having her in the same house as my cats. I want my cats safe. I don't want to worry about them being harmed or disappearing. Screw that! I guess I'll do what almost all of you suggested. Keep the cats, rehome the wife. Not how I wanted it to end, but life isn't always nice. If I may, I want to clear up some things from the original post. I did not stare at her all night. We have a mute TV with subtitles playing every night. I subtly watch TV while paying attention to the cat sounds. I'm not allowed to install cat doors. She won't let me keep the doors open. Apartment rules. Why did I instantly assume she was lying? I'm unfamiliar with mental health diseases. I know about some diseases, but ones that make you think your dreams happened? Tumors that make you see, hear, remember non-existent things? Sorry that I wasn't aware of those possibilities. So when someone tells me events happen when they literally didn't, I generally assume they're lying. Shame on me. Update 2. Aita for faking sleeping all night to see if my wife is lying. It's over, a divorce is inevitable. She went full psycho. I thought her being Baker acted would help. I'm sorry if this is all so confusing. right after the last update. I left her a message saying that I'll be here to support her if she wants me to, and that if she wants her items, she'll have to meet me at the apartment. I figured she'd read it when she got released. After she was released from the hospital, she texted me in getting my shit. I told her that her old key won't work anymore, and that I got off work in an hour and could let her in to grab her things. She replied, "I don't think so." I rushed home from work to find my bedroom window smashed. I live on the second floor with no balcony. She had broken the window and somehow climbed the outer wall to enter the window. She took her laptop, headphones, and on her way out, she had destroyed the cat litter box and the cat bed. I also couldn't find any of their toys anywhere. Thank you to those of you who advised me to have my sister watch my cats for a while. The cats are safe with her. She doesn't know where my sister lives. I called her and she instantly declined the call and texted me what? I told her to pay to replace what she damaged, stole. She tried to be clever by responding with no amount of money can fix what damage you caused. I didn't take anything either. You owe me a new laptop. I never even mentioned her laptop was gone, so it's obvious she was lying yet again. Thankfully, we have a tile account that lets us track items, and we both have tiles in our cars. I found her car in a Walmart parking lot, and through the window I could see all of the stolen items, along with her laptop and headphones. I just straight up called the police at this point. Long story short, we're going to be spending a lot of time in court. Mental illness or not, I have no sympathy for her anymore. She broke into my apartment, stole shit, lied about it, and tried to get me to pay for her shit. That's ignoring the fact that she destroyed the litter box and cat tree. I'm 100% certain that if the cats were home at the time, she would have hurt, killed, or kidnapped them. I do know that divorce is guaranteed. I'd also like a restraining order and money back for what she damaged, but that might be too much. I'm just so done. I feel defeated. I didn't even want to update. I didn't want to deal with more messages about how she or my cats deserved death or this didn't happen. I haven't had the will to do much of anything. I've even called out of work multiple days in a row. I just lay around the house thinking of what I could have done different. Was there a better ending for everyone? Anyway, I hope this is the last update. I really do. I just want it to stop. Please, thank those of you who have supported me through nice comments or advice or even sharing your own similar experiences. It's nice to know I'm not exactly alone. Thank you. Comments from UPA have officially moved as of a few days ago. I'm currently paying for rent at 2 places. Because the place I lived at, I had signed a contract that if I were to leave before the lease ended, that I'd need to continue to pay rent until the assigned date. It's expensive, but I'm safe. I already handed the keys over to the complex. And they confirmed with me that as of a few days ago, I'm no longer responsible for the state of the apartment. So luckily, if she damages anything or breaks in from this point forward, I won't be held accountable financially. Update 3. Aita for faking sleeping all night to see if my wife is lying. It's been a while. I'm doing better, for anyone curious. My cats and I have moved into a new place, and only my side of the family knows where I live. I've documented everything, and I finally feel safe. She contacted my family by showing up at their home and threatened to sue me and fight a legal battle for ownership of my cats unless they told her where I moved to. Yes, she threatened to fight for custody of my cats that she abused. I have no idea why. My family didn't fold because she basically threatened them with an easy win for me. Quite a few people that once sided with her are now apologizing. To me, after seeing how she's been acting, I had to quit my job because she kept causing trouble for the company, and they gave me the option to either quit on my own terms or be fired. I have a new, better job that nobody else knows about and a lot of friends and family to support me. I'm still a bit frustrated by all of this and get nervous when I get anonymous calls, but overall, I feel much happier now. I even have someone interested in me, but honestly, I still need time before I consider anything of the sort. I don't want to drag someone else into stalking drama. Thank you to those who asked for an update and who have supported me, given proper advice. I really appreciate it. I'm sure this will be my last update unless something else wacky happens. Peace. Final update. Aita for faking sleeping all night to see if my wife is lying. I didn't plan on ever updating again, nor even looking at this account again. That being said, a bunch of people on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter seemingly read my posts to their audiences recently. So out of nowhere, my emails were flooded with notifications from this account. Not really what I wanted to deal with, being reminded of the messy events I went through. But it is what it is. I gave one person permission to relay the story on a small podcast or something many months ago. And that was it. Sorry if I sound frustrated, as the memories being forcefully brought back are not exactly happy ones. It's not as if I enjoyed divorcing my supposed life partner after being manipulated, blackmailed by them. It was a miserable time of my life, but I did what I needed to for the safety of my cats. My update is neither happy nor sad. Honestly, nobody really won here. My cats were hurt and frightened by all of this. Having been kicked at, moving from place to place to place, losing someone that they for a long while considered their mother, they haven't been as playful as they used to be, and the youngest one had been urinating around the house. The vet said it's a behavioral thing. She knows what happened and believes that to be why he's doing that. My ex-wife has been homeless wherever she can. All I know is from a mutual friend. She got into drug usage from someone who let her stay at their place. And I don't even need to explain how that negatively impacted her, considering she clearly already had issues. I don't know much of anything else, other than she never got mental help, because she refused it when offered. She also apparently uses an altered telling of the events that happened as a way of gaining sympathy from people. I myself have a decentish newer job. After I had to quit my old one because of her, I lost all those amazing benefits and such great pay. Luckily, I have a new girlfriend. We'd been debating on dating for a while, and a few weeks back we decided to try it. We're having fun for the most part, but I still have bouts of anxiety and trust issues after everything that happened. When she first told me she saw my cat urinating on the carpet, I almost had a panic attack and started questioning her. After I calmed down, I felt terrible. I've been going to therapy, and I've recently started meds for a bunch of mental issues likely caused by all of this. So hopefully I'll be back to normal at some point soon. As you can see, nobody won. Everyone is struggling in some way. It sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. I really don't want to focus on this much further. I'm going to keep notifications on for like maybe a day. Then I'm turning them off and probably never coming back here again. I'm sorry if this update isn't what you hoped for, but it is what it is. I'm sorry, stories number 2. Told on my mom's married boyfriend and ruined my life. My mother started having an affair with a married man. Bruce over 10 years ago. My dad left her over it, but she stayed with Bruce with the promise of him divorcing his wife soon. Spoiler alert, it never happened. After 10+ years of knowing my mother was the other woman, and after stalking Bruce's wife's socials, I couldn't take it anymore. He's a creepy man that no one in my family can stand, including my 3 other siblings. We've been tasked all these years to keep her dirty secret and treat Bruce as if he's not an adulterer. I took one for the team and sent some anonymous emails out to some contacts I found through social media. Bruce's wife responded to me and asked to speak, as she had no idea any of this was going on, which I highly suspected despite Bruce's lies all these years. So I sat down and phoned her. We talked for almost 3 hours. She's a nice woman who was nothing but kind to me. She's been married to Bruce for 30 years and had no idea he had a double life. His job allows him to travel frequently. I answered all her questions. During this convo, though, I knew my relationship with my mother was over. I knew the details would get back to her and would pinpoint to me. Bruce's wife thanked me over and over and shared she would be divorcing Bruce once she got her finances in order. It was a very emotional conversation, and I'll never forget the sound of her cries as I told her all the details. The next day, I was completely cut off from my mother. I had no way of contacting her, and shortly after that, the harassment of members of my family came flooding in. Messages of disgust towards me and support towards my mother. Everyone turned on me and will no longer speak to me. I can't imagine she's telling them the truth of what I did. I told on her married boyfriend. I'm shocked my family has chosen her side and abandoned me. Sometimes regret washes over me, but in the end, all I did was speed up the inevitable. And I did it for my siblings who couldn't stand his presence anymore. I thought it would get rid of him, but it backfired. Not only are Bruce and my mother getting married, my siblings chose her side and have cut me off. This weighs heavy on my chest. It did for the last 10 years, and now because of what I did, it will continue. Thanks for reading and letting me get it out. Edit. Thank you to all the supportive comments. I have a few people in my corner rooting for me, but these comments have been comforting and therapeutic. The number of family that turned on me, I truly started to worry I was the problem and made a mistake. To answer some questions, money is a huge factor in all of this, which is why my siblings are so angry and not thanking me. I am my mother's oldest daughter. Only my youngest sibling lives with her. We are all adults. I have 2 young children. My mother has thrown to the curb for Bruce. They will never know who she is. I am in contact with the wife. She is a lovely woman who is aware of how this all unfolded and has been so kind to me. I like to think in another life we would be friends. I've spent a lot of time putting together proof for her so she can get what she deserves out of the divorce. Keeping in touch with the wife angered Bruce and my mother so much so, they told my family I was harassing the wife. That fueled the fire more for my family to hate me. To the few that have commented, I should have minded my own business. I wish this never was my business. What a laugh. Relevant comments commenter 1. Wait, why is she mad? If you didn't tell, the adultery would still be married and wouldn't be marrying your mom. Shouldn't she be thanking you? Unless he never intended to marry your mom, and even she knows this? Lol commenter 2. I'm willing to bet mom is pissed because Bruce stands to lose a lot of assets and will possibly have to pay alimony. Hard to say for sure, since we don't know the details of Bruce's marriage. But money is the only thing I can imagine being the reason he didn't leave his wife earlier and why mom would be so mad. I'm no legal expert, but this is my best guess. Reply bingo commenter 3. Why isn't your mother happy about what you did? She finally got the man that will cheat on his wife. Reply she feels I betrayed her, I'm sure. And I've ended her lavish lifestyle with him $. Commenter 4. Why not reach out to a relative to see what story your mom is telling them? I think you're right to suspect she is telling a very slanted version of events. Reply, I tried, with many of them. They won't tell me. Where is OO's dad in all this? Reply, not a good relationship with him, and he's annoyed I did this. Thinks I caused drama commenter 5? What a horrible mom. Imagine the kind of life and environment she made you and your siblings grow up through. Reply, we were fed and clothed, but not loved. Additional information from Oop. After reading comments. Reply, my family still won't talk to me. It's been almost 6 months of no contact from my mom. I've tried many times to reach out. As far as I know, Bruce and my mother are still wanting to get married. They're waiting on their divorces. I talk to Bruce's wife monthly, who is still devastated by all of this, and she continues to be nothing but kind to me. She's expressed her desire to meet me in person to thank me. She hired a forensic lawyer and found 22 hidden credit cards. I helped her build a timeline with all evidence. I had so she'd be getting what she deserves from the divorce. It's been hard without my family, but I have to hold on to the fact that I helped this stranger and stayed true to my own morals. I know I did the right thing. Update. I told on my mom's married boyfriend and ruined my life. It has been 18 months since I blew my family life up by tattling on my mother for being the other woman for 12 years. 18 months of a smear campaign against me that has turned all of my family, except one sister and close family friends, against me. Even my grandparents, who basically raised me, Bruce's wife and I still keep in touch every few months. She has gone through way worse than I have. Her life was a lie, and she struggles daily to comprehend everything that has happened. I feel so much shame that my mother is half responsible for this woman's heartbreak. She still has been nothing but kind to me. The big question that remained unanswered for 18 months. Why did my family alienate me? What lie did my mother and Bruce tell that made them not even give me a chance to speak? The truth is that I told on my mom's married boyfriend and blew up their vacation mode relationship. But we all know that couldn't be what she was telling people. Every night I would lay awake wondering what it was that was said about me. And I finally got the answer a year and a half later. My mother told everyone that I was a drug addict, that I was affected cognitively from drug use. None of you know me, but I am not a drug addict. My family believed that lie without question because who would lie on their own child like that? She had to say a lie so far from the truth that no one would question her. So there it is. The damage is done from all ends. My family thinks I'm a drug addict, and I'll never forgive my family for believing that and turning on me. I pled with so many of them. I sent them the entire story from start to finish, and no one broke and came to my side. I will never forgive my mother. So much has happened these past 18 months, and it's all her fault. She almost broke me, but thankfully I have an amazing family of my own I created, a husband and 2 daughters and amazing in-laws. My sister and I have never been closer. We are healing together. The only thing I wish now is for my mother to stop smearing me. My husband deployed for 6 months, and she actively lied on me to people that would come and help me during that time to try to isolate me further. There is no limit to her mental torment. My mother will always be my biggest bully. Going no contact with a narc parent is so hard. Don't let any old hag out there tell you it's their first time living too. It's your parent at the end of the day. I am her child. And she chose an ugly balding man over me and 2 amazing granddaughters. Will always be her loss. Thanks again for letting me get it off my chest. Relevant comments commenter 1. Wow. The way you were treated is absolutely horrible. I do not blame you for having resentment against your family members who abandoned you like that. Do you still have a relationship with your father and his side of your family? Reply, my father was upset at me at first because it caused a lot of headache for him. He and my mother were only separated, not divorced. He didn't want to give up his pension, and he was also told the bullshit version. So it honestly took about a year to get him to truly understand the truth. We've never had a great relationship, but we are growing closer now. Commenter 2, have a lawyer send her a cease and desist letter, stating, if she doesn't stop lying, there will be a lawsuit. Reply, I'm Asa, HM. Bruce has got a lot more dollar than me, and there's an added layer of complication with me living in Canada and Bruce, and now my mother living in the US. I think about it all the time though, commenter. 3. You have 2 choices. Expose her with evidence that what she said and did was a big fat lie to cover her adulterous relationship as the side woman. That she was for 12 plus years, and that is the reason your parent divorced. Also that she invented this story just to get back for uncovering this truth to Bruce's wife, with evidence supported and exposed to the community. Just give a damn about her and all those people that choose to believe their side. Even knowing you and how you are, this all means that all those people are not worth the effort to have them on your life. Grandparents included, and just stay with people who add to your life. And all those who dumped you, especially your mom, just take them as people that are dead to you. People that were in your life at some point and suddenly die. Again, stay and surround yourself with people who add and not people who subtract. Good luck, and hope your kids, husband and you are doing great. Also remember that the best way to take revenge from all those is to live a better life. Reply, I had a family friend harassing me about 5 months ago, sending me messages on any social platform, telling me I needed to get my head out of my ass and make things right with my mother and how horrible I was for how I treated her. I couldn't take it anymore, so I posted the screenshots on my socials for everyone to see, and it honestly made things worse for me. A lot of family thought I was causing drama by doing that. So I have been going with option 2. Thank you for your kind words, R. The divorce is finalized for OOP's mother and Bruce. And if they have got married? Reply, divorces for both of them have only just finalized. So no, not yet, but only a matter of a time, especially with her trying to reside in the US with him. We R from Canada OP responds to a downvoted commenter about if Bruce's ex-wife deserved to know what happened. Reply, you don't think Bruce's wife had a right to know? When this all started, my youngest sibling was 6. We have been dealing with this for 12 years. I couldn't take it anymore. Yes, I thought they would break up. No, I don't regret telling. Stories number 3, you like inflicting pain on a kid but can't handle pain in return. My parents strongly encouraged us kids to stand up for ourselves. We knew that as long as we were justified, they would always have our backs. No one was off limits. Teachers, administrators, other kids, or in this case, even an adult acquaintance. My parents were throwing a large house party with over 100 guests consisting of friends and friends of friends. I was 10 at the time and decided that I would play greeter at the door. This one muscular guy arrives who was barely an acquaintance of my parents. I stuck my hand out to shake his hand in welcome as I was doing with all the newly arrived guests. Apparently this jerk was the kind of man who thought it funny to squeeze young boys. Hands to the point of pain in some macho dominance display. As soon as the pressure on my hand got to the point of pain, I announced to him, "Hey, you are hurting my hand." Jerk just grinned at me and kept increasing the pressure on my hand. Said again, "You are hurting me." Jerk just chuckled and kept squeezing. Since this guy wasn't listening to my verbal boundary, I realized I had to make it serious. So I swung my leg back and proceeded to give him a very solid kick in the nuts. Clearly this was the right approach, as he immediately let go of my hand while howling in pain. The music was loud, so only people right by the door heard this. My dad just happened to be approaching the front door at this time, and the jerk loudly protested to him, "Dad's name, your son just kicked me in the nuts." Dad looked at me with a question in his eyes. I responded he was hurting my hand and wouldn't stop when I asked him to. Dad just nodded to me in approval, gave the jerk a stern look, and then carried on. Jerk looked around and realized that he had no support. He left soon thereafter. And when I saw him again in the future, he was quite respectful of me. The pain and trauma of a kick in the nuts apparently provided him with the motivation to grow as a person. Edit. So I am not 100% sure if editing my post is the correct way to go, or if I am supposed to just add a comment for this. But I want to address the comments trend. As people have noticed, I am brand new to Reddit. I came here because I came across a YouTuber called The Click who reads Reddit stories and really enjoyed the stories and responses he shared, so I decided to go straight to the source. Story from my childhood that seem appropriate for this section, which has been one of my favorite subreddits. Thank you to the people who responded and shared their similar stories. It is gratifying to hear others had the opportunity to put adult bullies in their place when they were kids. But I also wanted to address some of the other comments, specifically the ones either accusing me of being a bot or flat out calling me a liar. I will admit I am hypersensitive to bullying and abuse. This is due to some other childhood trauma that is way too inappropriate to share detail here. But I will also admit that nothing infuriates me more than people who bully others. I am just learning how Reddit works, so maybe I am missing some nuance. I also understand that bots appear to be a concern, though I am not sure why people would employ bots to do this. But fact remains that a bunch of you decided that because I was brand new, it was appropriate to call me a bot and/or a liar. Take a step back and evaluate what you are doing here. Someone is new to the Reddit community and shares a story from their childhood, and your response is to accuse them of being a bot and/or a liar just because they are new. This is how you treat people new to Reddit. Do you want to just keep Reddit for yourselves? Like, what excuse is this behavior? Thankfully, I am adult and have learned to communicate my displeasure instead of having to resort to violence. But frankly, the little kid in me thinks that you all deserve a kick in the nuts as well. Commenter 1, yes, you've got balls. That guy doesn't anymore, but you do. Commenter 2, nice story and good reaction. I only feared that him treating irrespectful wasn't a sign of personal growth, but that you were no longer on his can be bullied list. Replying, fortunately you may be right. I try to believe the best of people, but he may have continued to do it to other kids. Commenter 3, well done. There is a wonderful scene in the book To Kill a Mockingbird where the lynch mob shows up and Gene Louis Scout kicks one of the lynch mob members, thinking to do so in the shins, but miscalculates and hits him higher and is surprised that he displays actual pain from being kicked by a little girl. Reply, vaguely remember that from when we read it in school. Commenter 40 reminds me of my parents' friend who was sort of scolding me for being goth. I was 13 at the time and giving me a lecture on how stupid I look and that this is only a phase, blah blah, and I should throw out my clothes and get my face washed. She was literally going on and on about every single detail of my outfit and makeup. I was listening to her carefully, and when she was finished, I pointed out how stupid she looks in an outfit where her tits were almost bursting out and her skirt reminded a belt, and she looked very whorish in the best 2000s fashion. She got so upset and angry and right away went on to tell my mom how disrespectful I am and that I should shut up. My mom straight up asked her what did she tell me before my alleged disrespect, and then grinned at my ability not to. Take shit from idiotic adults. The lady left me alone and never tried to approach me again. Ha ha ha. Always thought how stupid she looked when she thought she was all high and mighty to straight up criticize me for no reason, but then whined to my mom as soon as she couldn't take it back. Replied, "Glad your mom had your back." I was taught to be respectful of adults, but if they crossed the line, my parents had no problem with me snapping back. As you also saw, adults who bully kids are the worst kind of bully and can't handle even a little bit of pushback. It is probably why they bully kids in the first place. Reply commenter 4. Oh, my poor mom had to be called to the school so many times because of my sharp tongue, and my literal credo, age doesn't equal wisdom. The quote I often threw at the annoying adults. I still think respect is earned and nobody is entitled to it just because of age or whatever group affiliation. But yeah, my mom did sit through endless barrage of my teachers saying all the nasty stuff about me after they disrespected me first, actually. My mom sort of laughed about it. She always gave me an obligatory but very half-assed "don't talk to teachers like that." It eventually entire gave up commenter 5. I had some dude do the same thing to me as a kid. What the hell's wrong with people? Thought it was fun to do it and try to pick me up by my hand after crushing it, so I bit him hard enough to draw blood. My mom was definitely not as understanding as your dad. Replied, "Good on you for standing up for yourself." Sorry, mom wasn't on board with that. Adults who bully or harm kids are definitely a trigger for me. Some other childhood trauma. I think they are the worst sort of coward as they intentionally target kids thinking that they won't face consequences. Hopefully the guy who did that to you learned a lesson. Replied commenter 5 once. I explained it to my dad. He told me I'm allowed to bite people like that harder and more than once. So it all worked out all right in the end. Lol stories number for my sister. Asked me for my late wife's embryos, and now my whole family is divided when I was in my late 20s. My first wife, Lauren, and I started fertility treatments. It wasn't easy. We went through months of tests, hormone shots, daily stress, and that weird mix of excitement and heartbreak that comes with every failed attempt. Eventually, we decided to freeze embryos as part of our treatment plan. It was one of the hardest seasons of our marriage, but we were hopeful that someday those embryos might give us the family we always dreamed of. And then life pulled the rug out from under me. Lauren got sick. First it was something small, then it became something major, and within a year, I was a widower at 32. It still doesn't feel real, even though 2 years have passed. She was everything to me, and losing her left a hole I'll never fully fill. The embryos have been sitting in storage at the clinic since then. Every year I get the reminder email and pay the storage fees. Some part of me keeps doing it because I can't bring myself to close that chapter, or the last physical link to Lauren and the life we almost had together. Fast forward, I met someone new about a year after Lauren's passing. Her name is Rachel, and she's now my wife. Falling in love again was complicated. I felt guilty at first, like I was moving on too fast, but Rachel never made me feel that way. She's been supportive, patient, and understanding about everything. She knows Lauren will always be part of my story, and she respects that. But now, things have gotten messy. My sister, Jessica, has struggled with infertility for years. She and her husband have tried multiple rounds of IVF, considered adoption, and gone through every painful what if that comes with not being able to conceive. I've watched her cry over baby showers, seen her retreat from family holidays when new pregnancies are announced, and I know how much it hurts her. Last month, Jessica called me. She started the conversation gently, almost like she was trying to ease me into something. I know this might sound strange, but I've been thinking a lot about the embryos you and Lauren have. Would you consider letting me and Mark use them? They'd stay in the family. You'd still be an uncle, but it would also keep Lauren's memory alive. I was stunned. I literally sat there on the phone, silent. Part of me understood her desperation, but another part of me felt my stomach twist into knots. Those embryos are tied to Lauren, to my marriage with her, 2 dreams that died with her. They're not spare parts for someone else to claim. I told her I needed to think about it that night. I brought it up with Rachel. I'll never forget the look on her face. She didn't blow up or cry, but I could tell she was shaken. I don't want to sound harsh, Rachel said carefully, but those embryos they're not just yours. They're yours and Lauren's. It's not just about genetics. Imagine if your sister had a baby from them. That child would technically be your biological child too. Do you realize how complicated that would be for us, for our future kids? She wasn't wrong. I hadn't even considered the emotional, legal, or practical fallout of that. The next day, I called the fertility clinic to ask about policies. The doctor was very clear. Consent rules are strict. Lauren had signed forms when we created the embryos, specifying conditions for their use. The forms did not mention my sister or any third party. Without her consent, which obviously can't be given now, the embryos can't legally be used for anyone other than Lauren and me. That should have been the end of it. But when I explained this to my parents, they immediately pushed back. My mom said, "Can't you try harder? These are your sister's only chance." My dad chimed in with, "Lauren would have wanted family to take care of family. Why let them sit there unused?" It felt like everyone around me had decided what Lauren would want without actually knowing. And I hated that. After a week of stewing, I finally told Jessica no. I said, "I can't give them to you. It's not just a legal issue, it's an emotional one. Those embryos are tied to Lauren and me, and I can't just hand them over." She broke down crying. She called me selfish. She said I was hoarding something I didn't even plan to use while she was suffering. And then came the knife twist. Lauren would have said yes. "You're dishonoring her memory by keeping them locked away." That crushed me. She doesn't know that. None of us do. And it hurt like hell to hear her use Lauren's name against me. Rachel stood by me through all of it. She even tried talking to my parents when they sided with Jessica, but they brushed her off, saying things like, "You don't understand. You weren't here when Lauren was alive." I feel like I'm being ripped in two directions. One, protecting the memory of my late wife and respecting what those embryos mean to me. And two, being painted as the cold-hearted brother who won't help his sister in her time of need. I feel bad for Jessica. I really do. But at the end of the day, those embryos aren't hers. They're not a community resource. They're not a consolation prize for infertility. They're part of a life I lost, and I can't give that away, not to her. Not to anyone. So I told her no, and I'm sticking with it. But the fallout has been brutal. She won't talk to me. My parents have made it clear they think I'm wrong. And I'm left wondering if I've just destroyed what little peace we had as a family. Am I overreacting? Am I as selfish as they're making me out to be? Or am I the only one here who understands the gravity of what's being asked? Update. My sister asked me for my late wife's embryos. Now my whole family is divided. I didn't expect this many people to read or comment on my original post. It honestly helped more than I thought to see strangers understand what I was trying to say. Some of you pointed out things I hadn't considered, like how complicated the family dynamic would be if Jessica did end up having a baby with those embryos. So thank you for that. I wish I could say things got better after my post, but in reality, things got messier. A few days after I told Jessica no, she showed up at my house. She was in tears, holding this binder full of information from her fertility clinic. She tried to convince me again, this time with paperwork in hand, explaining how technically there might be legal pathways. If I gave written consent as the surviving spouse, I stopped her right there and told her that even if there was a legal loophole, I wasn't comfortable. She kept pressing. "You don't even want them," she said. "They're just frozen there, costing you money, while I'm drowning here. Don't you want your DNA to carry on? Don't you want Lauren's memory to live?" I told her calmly that the embryos are not just DNA to me. They're tied to my marriage with Lauren, a marriage that ended because she died. I said that giving them away would feel like giving away a piece of her without her. Jessica accused me of being possessive and selfish. She even threw in, "Rachel probably put you up to this," which was low. Rachel has been nothing but respectful through this whole nightmare. Rachel actually stepped in at that point. She didn't yell, but she was firm. "Jessica, this isn't fair. These embryos are between your brother and Lauren. You don't get to decide what happens with them, and you certainly don't get to pit me against him. Stop dragging me into this." Jessica stormed out after that. Then my parents called. They told me Jessica had come to them crying. saying I was cruel and that Rachel had turned me cold. My mom said, "She's your sister. She's family. If anyone deserves this, it's her." That was the first time I really lost it. I said, "Do you hear yourselves? You're acting like this is a hand-me-down code I can just pass along. These are embryos, human embryos, from my marriage with Lauren. They are not Jessica's property. They're not yours either." My dad tried to reason with me, saying he understood it was emotional, but that I should think of the bigger picture. He asked, "What happens when those embryos just get destroyed in storage? Wouldn't you rather they give life to your niece or nephew?" That one hit me hard, because truthfully, I've thought about that too. One day I'll probably have to make a decision, keep paying the storage fees forever, or let them be destroyed. And yes, there's guilt in that. But the alternative, handing them over without Lauren's Sasa, feels worse. The tension kept building. Family group texts turned passive-aggressive. At Sunday dinner, my mom made some pointed comment about wasted opportunities. Rachel squeezed my hand under the table, basically telling me to stay calm. But I could feel myself shaking with anger. The final straw came when Jessica texted me late one night saying she had talked to a lawyer about potential options. She claimed there might be ways for her to petition for access since she's a biological relative. That sent me into a panic spiral. I barely slept that night. The next morning, Rachel and I called the clinic again, and they reassured us Jessica has no legal grounds. The embryos are under my name and Lauren's, without both parties' consent, and Lauren's is frozen. In time, by the paperwork she signed, they can't be used, period. That was a relief legally, but emotionally, I'm gutted, because the fallout hasn't stopped. Jessica refuses to speak to Rachel now. My parents are distant with me, clearly siding with her. Holidays feel like minefields. My younger brother, who hasn't said much publicly, pulled me aside recently and admitted he thinks Jessica is being manipulative, but he doesn't want to get caught in the crossfire either. And me, I'm just exhausted. I feel like Lauren's memory has been turned into a bargaining chip. I feel like Rachel is being villainized for standing beside me. And I feel like I've lost my sister. Permanently. Rachel asked me last week if I'd ever considered donating the embryos for research. At first, I bristled, because even that idea feels like giving them away. But she explained her thought. If they're never going to be used for what you and Lauren wanted, maybe the best way to honor her is to help science. To help future couples who go through what you two went through. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. But it's the first suggestion that hasn't felt like betrayal. For now. I've told Jessica and my parents that this topic is off limits. I won't discuss it anymore. If they bring it up, I leave the room. Rachel and I are focusing on building our own life, maybe starting our own family someday without the ghost of Lauren's embryos hanging over us. Do I feel guilty? Yes. Do I feel heartbroken that my sister may never forgive me? Yes. But I'd feel worse if I gave in and lived the rest of my life knowing I handed over something so personal. Something that was never meant to be shared. That's where things stand now. Final update. I refused to give my late wife's embryos to my sister. It's been a few months since my last update, and I promised myself that one way or another, I'd bring closure to this situation. I can finally say, it's over. After I drew a hard line with my sister Jessica and my parents, things were tense for a long time. Jessica stopped speaking to me completely. My parents kept making little digs, and Rachel and I even skipped a couple of family dinners, just to protect our peace. It was painful, but we needed the space. Then, a turning point came. I got a call from the fertility clinic. They told me my yearly storage contract was coming up for renewal, and I had to make a decision. Keep paying, donate, or discard. That night, Rachel and I sat down and talked about it for hours. I cried more than I'd like to admit. I felt like whatever choice I made, it would never feel right. Those embryos were a piece of Lauren and me, a life we never got to have together. They weren't just cells to me. They represented all the dreams we lost when she died. But I also realized something. Keeping them frozen forever wasn't giving me peace, it was keeping me trapped. Every year, I'd get that reminder. Every year, Jessica would circle back, trying to guilt me. And every year, Lauren's memory would feel like it was being pulled into a fight she'd never consented to. So, I made the hardest decision of my life. With Rachel's full support, I signed the papers to donate them to research. It wasn't a rash choice. I spoke to the clinic in depth about what that would mean. The embryos will never become children, but they can help researchers studying fertility treatments, cancer, and genetic diseases. In a way, Lauren's legacy will live on, not through a child she never agreed to bring into this world, but through knowledge that might save families from the same heartbreak we went through. When I told my family, it went exactly how you'd expect. Jessica exploded. She said I was killing her chance at motherhood and that I'd chosen my new wife over my own blood. She hasn't spoken to me since. My parents were devastated too. My mom actually cried on the phone and said, "You could have kept this family together." I told her no, this fight was tearing it apart. It's not my decision. My younger brother surprised me by calling later that night and telling me he thought I did the right thing. He said he'd never seen Jessica so manipulative before. And while he loves her, he could tell she was using Lauren's death as leverage. That call meant more to me than he'll ever know. Rachel has been my rock through all of this. She held me when I signed the papers. She reminded me that choosing peace isn't selfish. And she reassured me that Lauren would never have wanted her embryos turned into a bargaining chip for my sister's marriage. Do I feel guilt? Of course, some nights I still wake up thinking, what if I'd chosen differently? But then I remember Lauren and I made those embryos together, not for anyone else. And if she couldn't be here to make the decision with me, then the only respectful thing was to make one that protected her memory, not exploited it. The fallout with my family hurts. I won't sugarcoat that. I don't know if Jessica and I will ever have a relationship again. I don't know if my parents will ever forgive me. But for the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. Lauren's memory is safe. My marriage to Rachel is safe. And I finally feel like I honored both. That's where I'll leave this. Thank you to everyone who reminded me that boundaries don't make you selfish. Sometimes they're the only way to survive. Stories number 5. It's 3 months before my wedding, and I don't know if I can go through with it. Update at the bottom. So I have been with my fiancé for 3.5 years. And culturally, we are already married as he has paid a dowry for me. We're planning a big celebration in September, and as it draws nearer, I'm starting to really not like him. Backstory. My fiancé enjoys drinking from time to time. And sometimes he's not the nicest drunk. Somehow I always find a way to forgive him 3 weeks ago. He came home drunk from a night out with colleagues and there was no food available for him, so he went on a rant about how he's calling off the wedding, 'cause I don't care about him. And I don't know how to take care of him. He said this the day before my grandmother's funeral. He eventually came to his senses and apologized, and as usual, I brushed it off. There have been multiple instances where he's drunk and rants about how I'm not a warm woman and that I don't care about him. But last night took the cake. We went out with friends. And the plan was for me to get a bit tipsy, because I've been going through a lot recently. Learned that my mom is complete renal failure. And my dad has been in and out of the hospital. Anyway, we're having a great time and I get tipsy. I soon realize that he's getting drunk, so I stop drinking so I can take care of both of us. We eventually get home, and I get him into bed. I take 2 strong painkillers so I can sleep, as I haven't slept in 3 nights. I made sure to give him a glass of water and everything he needs should he not feel well. The pills worked a bit too well, apparently, because it turns out he ended up throwing up in the bathroom and had to clean it up himself. I didn't hear anything until he came back into the bedroom, where he snapped at me saying he almost died and I didn't come help him. I inform him that I was sleeping and didn't hear anything, and he refuses to listen. Instead, he is telling me that I've proved to him that I don't care about him because I abandoned him in his time of need. I feel bad that I didn't hear him, but I was absolutely exhausted. I have always helped him whenever he got too drunk and threw up. I've always made sure to clean him up and get him into bed. I'm hurt and I'm angry because I am always being accused of not caring. I don't know how much more I can take. I can't speak about this to anyone in my life, so thanks for reading this far. Commenter 1. Has he ever made sure you have water by your bed and food made when you come home drunk from a night out with colleagues? Has he cleaned up your puke? Made sure he's taking care of you, even when he hasn't slept for 3 days? Maybe he is a cold man who doesn't know how to care for you and him. Maybe he keeps abandoning you. Maybe he doesn't love you. Maybe you should call off the wedding. See how crazy it sounds when you turn the question around? Leave this man and find a much, much better one. Commenter 2, you deserve better. Don't marry him, commenter 3. Yup, I called off a September wedding at the end of June. It's never too late. If you feel it's wrong, don't go through with it and end up miserable. It'll be more difficult to leave. It's not your job to take care of and clean up after an angry drunk. He might not be now, but verbal abuse can escalate to physical. If you want to even try and see if things can change, you'd have to give the ultimatum, not a fan. But sometimes necessary that he has to stop drinking altogether and do therapy. If he can't or won't do it, or you just don't want to deal with it any longer, it's a valid reason, then save yourself the hassle and heartache. Because as you, Actuator Seth 5 wrote, you deserve better. Commenter 4, if you had a friend that was marrying a guy like this, what would you say to her? Get out now. You are taking care of a drunk who is only looking for a new mommy to take care of him. You deserve better. Update, I married him and lived to regret it. Everything got worse after marriage. The drinking, the emotional and mental abuse, the physical intimidation, and oh my goodness, the cheating. All while I was going through heavy depression. All while going fertility treatments and having a miscarriage. I even got admitted into a psychiatric hospital. It's been such a crazy year. We are now officially divorced, and we don't speak. It's weird. I spent most of my 20s with this man, and I'm trying to figure out what life without him is. And I'm failing dismally. But I know I'll be okay eventually. Thanks, guys. Commenter. One of those situations where you actually should have listened to the hundreds of comments telling you to run. Hope you can find some peace now. Reply, I was too scared to face my him and my reality, and I paid for it with my mental health. I eventually got out and never looked back. Commenter 2, I hate to say, but will anyway. Better late than never, op. Better late than never. Stories number 6, I found a stash of letters at my father's, and now I don't know if I should tell my mother a few weeks ago. My brother Ethan and I were at my parents' house in Ohio, helping them clean out the garage. My parents, David 62 meters and Linda 59F, have lived in that house for over 30 years. And it's packed with layers of memories, old furniture, dusty tools, boxes of toys from when Ethan and I were kids. It was hot that afternoon, and we were both sweaty, hauling boxes of junk out to the driveway. I remember joking with Ethan that Mom was probably just finding excuses to get free labor out of us. He laughed and said, yeah, wait until she asks us to repaint the house too. It was all lighthearted until I picked up a heavy box from under a workbench. The box was metal, dented, and tucked away under a pile of tools like it was deliberately hidden. I figured it was filled with old receipts or spare screws. But when I popped it open, it wasn't hardware, it was letters. Handwritten letters, bundled together with a rubber band, along with a few photographs. At first, I thought I had stumbled onto something sentimental, like love letters between my parents when they were younger. I pulled one out and started to skim. But the words didn't sound like my mother's voice at all. They sounded different. Phrases like, it's a shame we can't be together. I'm glad I can see you at least once a month, every time I leave, I carry a piece of you with me. My heart dropped into my stomach. I froze, rereading the lines. For a second, I told myself it had to be before my parents got married, maybe an old college girlfriend. But then I looked at the dates. They weren't old. They were from 2019, 2020, 2021, only a few years ago, and then I saw the photographs. Not grainy old Polaroids, but modern prints. My father was in them, sitting across a table from a woman I didn't recognize. His hair looked exactly the same as it does now, just a little grayer at the edges. The woman was smiling at him like they were more than friends. I shut the box so fast it made a loud clang, and Ethan called from across the garage, "You good?" I panicked and shoved the box back under the tools. "Yeah, just dropped something," I lied. The rest of the day, I went through the motions carrying boxes, laughing at Ethan's dumb jokes, smiling at Mom when she brought out lemonade. But inside, I was burning. Every time I looked at Dad, I saw the letters. Every time I looked at Mom, I saw betrayal. Mom has always adored my dad. She calls him her rock. She brags about him to her friends. She covers for him when he forgets things, makes excuses when he doesn't show up to family events. She has spent her whole life putting him first. And meanwhile, he was writing letters to another woman, meeting her once a month. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed the words in my head. Those photographs burned into my brain. I told myself maybe it had ended years ago. Maybe it was nothing more than letters and dinners, but I didn't know for sure. Since then, I've been carrying this secret like a stone in my chest. When we had dinner as a family last weekend, Mom leaned over to Dad and laughed at one of his corny jokes. She reached out to straighten his collar like she always does, with this little look of affection that makes it so obvious how much she loves him. And I felt sick. I kept asking myself, am I betraying her by staying silent? If I tell her, I could destroy their marriage, shatter her world, blow up our whole family dynamic. But if I don't tell her, I'm complicit. I'll know that I let her keep loving him without all the facts. I'll be sitting at Christmas dinner with a smile on my face, knowing what I know. I've thought about confronting Dad directly, just asking him point blank, what are these letters? Who is this woman? Is it still going on? But I don't know if I'm ready to hear the answers. What if he lies? What if he begs me not to tell Mom and puts me in an even worse position? And then there's Ethan. I haven't told him. He's always been Dad's favorite, the one who inherited his sense of humor and easy charm. Would Ethan even believe me? Would he resent me for dragging him into this? The hardest part is that on the surface, nothing's wrong. My parents are still together. They still go on date nights, still post pictures of their little road trips. If I never opened that damn box, I'd never have suspected anything. But now I can't unknow it, and I don't know if keeping quiet makes me loyal or cowardly. That's where I'm stuck. I haven't made a move yet. Every day I wake up telling myself, just wait a little longer. Maybe the truth will come out on its own. But deep down I know it probably won't, and sooner or later, I'll have to decide whether to protect my mother or protect the fragile version of family that's left. Update. I found a stash of letters at my father's, and now I don't know if I should tell my mother it's been a couple of weeks since. I posted about finding those letters in my dad's garage. I wasn't sure if I'd ever come back with an update. But too much has happened, and I can't keep this bottled up. After I posted, I read through a lot of the comments. Some people told me to tell my mom right away, others said I should confront my dad first, and a few said to just stay out of it because it wasn't my business. But it is my business because now I'm carrying this secret alone every time I sit down at the dinner table. The weight of it finally broke me one night when I was talking with my brother Ethan, 29M. We were grabbing beers at a local bar, and he noticed I was distracted. He pushed me to open up, and I cracked. I told him about the metal box, the letters, the pictures. At first, he didn't believe me. He actually laughed and said, "Dad, come on. He barely has time to mow the lawn. You think he's sneaking off to meet some mystery woman?" But when I described the letters word for word and mentioned the photographs, Ethan got quiet. He didn't defend Dad after that. He just sat there, staring at his drink. Finally, he said, "We need to talk to him. Just the two of us. Before we do anything else," so that's what we did. A few days later, Ethan and I drove over to the house when Mom was at her book club. Dad was in the living room watching the game. I remember my hands were shaking so bad, I almost dropped my keys on the way in. Ethan didn't waste time. He just said, "Dad, we found the box in the garage. The letters, the photos." Dad's face went pale instantly. He didn't even try to play dumb. He turned off the TV and just sat there with his hands clasped, like he was bracing for a storm. He admitted it. He said the woman's name is Carolyn. They met years ago at some industry conference. He works in insurance, and they stayed in touch. He swore up and down that it wasn't an affair because they never slept together. He described it as an emotional connection that got out of hand. He said the monthly meetups were just coffee, sometimes lunch where they'd talk about their lives. The letters, according to him, were Caroline's idea, her way of keeping the connection alive. I asked him why he kept them. Why hide them in the garage instead of throwing them away if it was over? He said he couldn't bring himself to destroy them, and insisted it ended last year when Carolyn moved to another state. Ethan was furious. He stood up and yelled, "You've been lying to Mom for years. Emotional affair or not, you betrayed her. Do you even realize what this would do to her if she found out?" Dad begged us not to say anything. He said Mom wouldn't understand and that he didn't want to ruin the family. He kept saying, "What's done is done. Let's just move forward." I couldn't even look at him. All I kept thinking about was Mom, how she always gushes about what a great husband he is, how she tells her friends she hit the jackpot with him. And here he was begging us to keep his secret. We left without agreeing to anything. Ethan was livid. He said we had to tell Mom, but here's the thing, I didn't. I froze. I still haven't. Instead, I've been acting weird around Mom. She's already noticed. The other night she asked me if something was wrong, if I was stressed at work. I lied and said I was just tired. Meanwhile, Dad sits across the table avoiding my eyes. Ethan and I are split. He says Mom deserves to know, and that by staying quiet, we're protecting Dad, not her. I agree with him in theory, but in practice, the idea of blowing up my parents' marriage makes me physically sick. Mom has health issues, and the stress would wreck her. I've been second-guessing everything. Should I tell her the truth and let her decide what to do? Or is it better to leave the past in the past, since Dad swears it's over? What if I tell her and it destroys her, only to find out the relationship really did end years ago? I feel like I'm standing on a landmine no matter what I choose. For now, Ethan and I agreed to give it a little time before deciding. But every day that passes, I feel like I'm betraying my mom just by keeping my mouth shut. That's where things stand. I'm torn between protecting her or protecting the family as a whole. And honestly, I don't know which is worse. Final update, I found a stash of letters at my father's. And now I don't know if I should tell my mother when I wrote the last update. I was still frozen in that horrible limbo, knowing the truth, but not acting. Torn between protecting my mom or protecting the family. Since then, everything has come to a head. I need to share how it played out. After weeks of pretending, I couldn't take it anymore. The tension was eating me alive. I was short with my mom, snappy at work, avoiding calls from my dad. Ethan and I fought constantly. He was furious that I hadn't told her yet. I was terrified that telling her would break her completely. The breaking point came one Sunday afternoon. We were all at the house for dinner. Mom, Dad, Ethan, me. Mom had cooked this big roast, the kind she always makes when she wants family time. She was laughing, telling us about her book club, and Dad was sitting there smiling like nothing was wrong. I looked at her, beaming at him like he was the center of her universe. And I felt like I was physically choking on the secret. After dinner, Ethan pulled me aside in the kitchen and whispered, "If you don't tell her, I will." And that was IT, realized there was no more hiding. So we sat her down in the living room. My heart was pounding so loud, I could barely hear my own voice. I told her we'd found something in the garage, and then I told her about the box, about the letters, about the photos, about Caroline. She went still, completely silent. Then she asked Dad, very quietly, if it was true. He tried to launch into that same speech he gave us. It wasn't an affair. It was just an emotional connection. It's over now, but she stopped him cold. She just said, "You lied to me for years." She didn't scream. She didn't cry at first. She just stood up, walked into the bedroom, and shut the door. Ethan and I left soon after. Dad didn't follow us out. The fallout has been brutal. Mom called me 2 days later, sobbing. She thanked me for telling her, but she also said she felt like her entire life had been a lie. She kept asking how many dinners did I cook while he was sneaking off to see her. How many anniversaries did we celebrate while he had someone else on his mind? Hearing her pain nearly broke me. Dad, on the other hand, is furious with us. He called Ethan and me meddlers and accused us of ruining the family. He insists it was harmless, that Mom is blowing it out of proportion. He's staying in the guest room now, and from what Mom says, they're barely speaking except about logistics. As for Caroline, Mom found her email address in one of the letters. She actually reached out. Carolyn replied, confirming everything Dad said, that they never slept together. but they met regularly for years and shared an emotional bond. Carolyn even apologized, saying she should have stepped back long ago but couldn't let go. That was somehow worse. Knowing it wasn't a fling, but this long, sustained betrayal. Now Mom is talking about separation. Not divorce yet, but she told me she needs space to breathe without him in the house. She's staying with her sister next week and me. I feel like I detonated a bomb. Part of me knows Mom deserved the truth, that hiding it would have been its own kind of betrayal. But another part of me keeps replaying her face when I told her, and I wonder if I destroyed her happiness for nothing. Ethan says we did the right thing. Secrets rot families from the inside, he told me. Maybe he's right. But sitting here now, watching my parents' marriage unravel, I can't help but feel the weight of it all. The one thing I do know is this: my relationship with my dad will never be the same. I see him differently now. Not as the steady, dependable man I thought he was, but as someone who chose cowardice and deception over honesty. So that's where we are. My mom knows. My dad's furious. Ethan's firm. And me. I'm just trying to piece together what family even means anymore when the foundation you thought was solid turns out to be full of cracks. Stories number 7, Aita. For telling my grandpa not to send any child support anymore, my parents are divorced. My dad doesn't have a job or a house or a car or literally anything on his name. He just spends grandpa's money. My mom is also broke. She has 4 kids, which she can hardly afford. I spend 1 week at mom's and 1 week at grandpa's. Dad lives here. My grandpa gives my mom $1,000 a week as child support, though he doesn't have to do it. It's not court-ordered since he is not my dad. A while ago, I went to my mom's house and we went shopping for school stuff. I chose a nice backpack and asked my mom to butt it for me. She said no, because she is buying new backpacks for my siblings, and she can't afford more, and I can just ask Grandpa to buy me a new backpack. I told her that I'm asking my grandpa. Grandpa gives her $1,000 a week, right? So she can just use that money on me. She called me a brat and said she won't buy it, so I called my grandpa and told him not to send money anymore. What is the point of sending money if she's going to spend it on her other kids? My grandpa was upset when he heard the story and said he will no longer give her anything, and if I need something, I should ask him instead of my mom. Now my mom thinks I'm an asshole. Commenter. 1 NTA. Can you live with grandpa full time? Replied. I'm 15, haven't been to court in a while. Maybe if we do, they'll respect my opinion this time. Commenter 2 NTA. You're absolutely right. That was your grandpa's hard-earned money. He doesn't have to support random kids. Glad you have your grandpa. Commenter 3 maybe. Grandpa could put the $2,000 in a savings account in your name each month to build up a little fund for you to use later. That way, he knows his money will be going directly to you. Reply, already have a saving account. He puts way more than $2,000 a month in it. He only gave this money to my mom because I told him. I hate living with her because she can never afford anything. We can't even get food from MACDONALDS. Commenter. For she was using the money for all her other expenditures and refused to get your school backpack. But your grandfather meant it to be used for you, right? Reply, yeah. I'm his grandchild, not the others. Stories number 8, starting to resent my girlfriend over her constant emotional meltdowns. Is this normal for us guys? I'm a guy who's always prided himself on being caring and kind. My girlfriend has always been emotional, but lately it's gotten to the point where I'm starting to resent her, and that scares me. Right now, she's been sobbing in my bed since last night and all through today. I've been there for her. I've asked if she's okay, offered to make her food, comfort her, do anything she needs. She just says no and keeps crying. This whole episode started because she felt I didn't show her I cared yesterday. The specific things felt small to me. She was playing with my dog all day and afterwards would ask me to brush hair off her clothes, which I did. Then we were going to bed and I felt so tired, and she asked me again as her pajamas had dog hair on it. To me it looked fine, so I told her that, but she kept persisting, so I eventually brushed it for her. She said me resisting made her feel like I didn't care about her hot dinner. I made what I thought was a harmless joke about her work. Everyone laughed, including her at the time, but she later said it made her uncomfortable. I apologized sincerely for both. Even after apologizing, she shuts down completely. This has been a pattern for years. Something minor sets her off. She cries all day or longer, won't talk, won't accept comfort, and tells me to go away. Meanwhile, sit there feeling helpless and drained. I'm starting to feel like I'm wasting days of my life just sitting in bed next to someone, sobbing, who won't even tell me what she needs. I'd do anything for her if she'd just tell me. But instead, I'm left stewing in resentment and thinking, life's too short to spend it like this. It's depressing. Questions for the guys here. Have you dealt with a partner who shuts down and cries for days over small things? How do you set boundaries or communicate without seeming insensitive? At what point do you decide the emotional mismatch is too big to overcome? Should I just leave? I'm sick of it. I want a happy, positive GF commenter. 1. You don't want a happy, positive GF. You want someone with more emotional stability than a metronome. Either she gets therapy and possibly meds, or you're getting out. Man. Commenter 2, I've dealt with that. But the key difference was, she recognized it was a problem and put tremendous work into fixing it, and herself. If it's been years and she hasn't even acknowledged, her reactions are unreasonable. I don't think it's ever getting better. Life is too short to spend it catching emotional strays. Commenter 3 sounds like an elementary kid trying to date. I don't think you can handle her, nor should you be expected or required to. Since she's a girlfriend and not a wife, maybe it's time to end things if you are really starting to resent her. Because it won't get better in marriage, commenter, for I dated a girl like that. She was later diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Just leave. It will not get better, and all the blame will gradually shift to you. Stories number 9. Me and my husband's male couples therapist pointed out that me telling my husband how to support me is just adding another thing to my plate. I love the therapist, and my husband does too. But our therapist's understanding of the mental load in our last session genuinely blew me away. We were discussing how my husband could better support me as we are going through a particularly rough life patch, and while it's heavy on both of us, I am carrying far more than my husband is. Our therapist was discussing with us how my husband could better support me during this time, what else he might be able to take off my plate, or provide more emotional support, etc. My husband was struggling at identifying something specific, and ultimately said that he needed me to tell him what to do. And our therapist pointed out that by me having to direct my husband, providing direction was yet another thing on my plate. To be completely honest, that didn't even occur to me, but our therapist was completely right. My husband took it in stride and agreed, and I deeply appreciated the acknowledgement and recognition of the mental load I carry, and the guidance provided to assuage adding to that mental load by our therapist ETA. My husband isn't an incompetent piece of crap who doesn't know how to do the dishes, nor am I a micromanaging bitch who has unreachable standards. This post has nothing to do with basic things like chores, typical household tasks, etc. My husband and I are facing major life adjustments, debilitating life challenges, role changes, and some role reversing, and we are in the thick of it right now. We're also both working hard on doing some serious patriarchal deprogramming. My husband is an amazing man who I appreciate so very much. The whole point of this post was to share how awesome our therapist is, how awesome my husband is for being willing to handle criticism like this and being dedicated to change, and how all of this learning can happen together in a positive way. There's a lot of projection happening in the comments and downright meanness. So I'm going to excuse myself from the comment section now. Thanks to the many who saw my post for what it was, shared positive and supportive feedback. And kudos to the men who learned from this post, and thank you for sharing that learning experience with me. Commenter 1, as far as you making him a list, always remember, who makes the list for you? No one. Because an adult should be able to figure out that stuff on your own. If you can make a list, so can your husband. Reply, thank you for this. I wish I had a list. I'm so damn tired. ETA. This comment isn't about my husband. It's about how fucking ridiculously hard life is, and how most of the time, there's no guidebook on the intricacies that life throws at us. And I would love a list of how to handle all the shit life is throwing at me. That has nothing to do with my husband. He doesn't have the list either. It doesn't exist. I'm not talking about pathetic honey-do lists. My husband isn't an incompetent idiot. My husband is a good man, doing hard work and showing up with me and for me every damn day. My husband knows how to do chores. He knows how to do all of my laundry, down to what to hang dry, and the settings for all of my different clothing, and does all of it. I can't remember the last time I touched laundry, but we're dealing with tough life shit right now, and have been for a while. Major life adjustments, huge role changes. It's a lot. And yeah, patriarchal conditioning is showing up in some ways. But my husband is not shying away from the hard work. He's taking criticism in stride and working hard to deprogram all the shit that's impacting him from being the best partner he can be. I'm doing the same work, just in a different way, because I also have a ton of deprogramming that I need to do that's hurting me too. The patriarchy and toxic masculinity hurts everyone. Commenter to the therapist is right. Why is it on you to give him a list? Why can't he figure out what to do? Is he so used to you doing everything he's lost the ability to simply open his eyes, take a look around, and get a basic task done? And when nothing gets done, it later becomes your fault because he's not a mind reader. Plea exactly. Sometimes it's hard to see when you're in the thick of it, and that's where my husband and I are at. We're grateful to have a therapist who is direct, educated, and genuinely cares about the strength of our relationship. My husband really took the therapist's feedback in and has been, and I know that it will be a continued help to our relationship. Commenter 3, fuck yeah. Keep that therapist. He gets it. I suspect it also hits harder because this is a man telling another man about the mental load. We need more men like that. Reply YEs. I'm right there with you. My husband agrees to. He's been listening to and reading Terry Real. As have I. And Terry talks a lot about how important it is that men speak up about this stuff. Men have very real privilege in the patriarchal society we exist in, and they can use that privilege for good. Commenter for gotta love therapy. Reply I'm just still kind of blown away that a male couples therapist was the one to say this. My husband and I are both strong believers in therapy, so we've been in couples and individual therapy for the better part of our 10 years together. We've had a number of couples therapists over time. The men we've had were abysmal. The women were much better, but this is the first therapist to really seem to grasp the mental load. And I won't lie that I'm surprised that a man understands the mental load as well. Not just understands it, but is also willing and able to call it out. Stories number 1, OAITA. For telling my father's girlfriend that it's not my fault she doesn't have any friends. My 26F father, late 50s, has been with Trudy, early 40s, for about 6 years. But she only moved in with him a little under a year ago. Before that, she lived in a different city. Since they started dating, Trudy has established herself as essentially a housewife. It was her choice from what I gather. My father was against it, and she seems happy with it. But she's a little extreme about it. She doesn't work, has no hobbies, and refuses to go anywhere without my father. And he often leaves on work trips for days at a time. When he's in town, she joins him in whatever he's doing. When he's not, her daily routine consists of going to the gym and returning home to order takeout and watch TV. Because of that, Trudy has no friends in this city. She never meets anyone. Her whole family is a 6-hour drive away, and only my father's friends come to her birthday parties recently. Both Trudy and my father started pushing for me and my sister to hang out with Trudy or include her in whatever plans we make. Because she's been spending a lot of time home alone and has been getting lonely, they've mostly given up on asking my sister, but still try to convince me. I never do. Both because I can't and because I don't like Trudy. I'm well aware that's not her problem, and I'm always polite. But I don't want to spend time with her when I don't have to. I also have a baby and a job, so whatever free time I have tends to revolve around my son. Even when it doesn't, Trudy and I don't have the same interests. Last Friday, Trudy was home alone and invited me, my husband, and our baby over to watch a movie with her. We thanked her but said no because my husband wanted to catch up on work and I didn't want to take our son out on my own. Both true. On Saturday, we ended up inviting my best friend and her husband for a small game night at our place. said friend later posted an Instagram story about it. My father returned on Sunday morning. We saw my family at a small get-together that day. Trudy was quiet, which was out of character. Right before we left, she and my father pulled me aside. We had an argument. Because Trudy had seen what my friend had posted. She said she was upset. I hadn't thought of including, or taking her up on her offer to hang out when she was home alone. My father told me I'd been inconsiderate. She hasn't made any friends around here yet, and I know how lonely she's been lately. I said it's not my fault she doesn't have any friends. I don't have to include her in my plans just because she refuses to meet new people. Trudy got offended, but my husband and I had to leave yesterday. My father texted me saying that Trudy was still upset about what I said, and he thinks I owe her an apology. He thinks that I'm bullying his girlfriend by refusing to hang out with her. And it was rude of me to imply that her lack of friends is her own fault. That was not what I meant. And I don't like being treated like Trudy's cure for loneliness. But I do understand how what I said could be seen as rude. Aita. Relevant comments commenter, if her friends and family, i.e., you don't invite her to your gatherings, how is she to make any friends? It would be rude of her to go to your gatherings uninvited, Waita. Reply, that would depend on what you mean by gatherings. I invite her to whatever parties I throw my husband's birthday and mine, as well as events for my son, along with my family. I'm not usually the person who hosts gatherings in general, so that's not really something I consider. Other ways to make friends include actually leaving the house. She has a car. Trying out new hobbies and attempting to put herself out there. All of which she refuses to do. Commenter 1, NTA. Why is Trudy looking at your friend's Instagram story? It's not your job to entertain her or invite her to anything. Trudy's a grown-ass woman who needs to get a life instead of crying to her. Boyfriend that his kids don't want to hang out with her apply? She started following some of my friends during my birthday party a few months ago. Said friend has been my best friend since diapers and is a little more active on social media, so Trudy checks hers pretty often. Commenter 2, NTA. You father should stop setting up playdates for you and his wife. Her lack of friends is not your problem since you are not the one married to her. This is between your father and his wife to figure it out. Stay firm on your boundaries and tell your father to stop bullying you into being his wife's companion. Reply, I always thought they were a weird couple. Trudy is still nostalgic for Y2K and would be a Disney adult if she could afford to. My father thinks he's James Bond, but is closer to Frasier, minus the college degrees. He really wants us to be friends, though. I never told him I didn't like her. But I did make it clear that the fact we have nothing in common makes it unlikely. Commenter 3. Well, it kinda is her fault. If she's lonely, she can join a club or volunteer somewhere, take a class, get a part-time gig, or find other ways to meet new people or keep herself busy. She's a grown woman with plenty of free time on her hands. She can go figure out constructive ways to use it. You are right, it's not your job to entertain her or solve her loneliness. You have your own life, and you're not buddies. Reply exactly. She has a car, she has money, and they literally live in one of the most popular streets in our city. There is nothing stopping her from doing stuff besides staying home. Commenter 4, NTA explain to your dad that you are not bullying her, but they are bullying you. You have said nothing mean to her or about her, and you have not done anything mean to her. You did not attack her with the statement. You defended against their attack. You are a working mother with limited time already, and she is not offering to help you in any way. She is just demanding a portion of your already limited free time. The fact that she has no child and no job and is bored does not give her the right to add stress to your already stressed life. Reply things with her have gotten so much worse since my son was born. I always thought my father would be more difficult to deal with around this time. But she does not understand how limited my free time actually is. Responds to a downvoted comment that she should listen to her father's requests and be responsible. To hang out with Trudy reply. Literally none of that is my problem. If he wants to spend time without her, he's the one who has to talk to her about it. Trudy is not a child. She's not my responsibility and I don't have to step in. And family helps family doesn't apply here. She's not my family and I have an actual baby to raise. My focus is my son, I don't have to babysit my father's girlfriend, and I don't have to help my father. It's their relationship, not mine. Does Trudy want to have kids? Reply, she actually wanted kids, but couldn't have any. That said, she settled into the housewife role almost immediately and always seemed very satisfied with it. Doesn't Trudy have a job? Reply, she used to work, and I think she still has some savings. I also think there's some inheritance money involved. My father does pay for most of their expenses. Thoughoop explains why her father and Trudy hasn't bothered her sister. Reply, my sister is younger and in college, so she just used I have to study as an excuse until they gave up. They do still bother her, just not as much as they bother me. Commenter, how did she become a housewife when they started dating 6 years ago, when she only moved in a year ago? Reply back, when she lived in her hometown, she'd fly in to visit my father at least twice a month and stay for about a week. Moving in with him didn't change much. Except she no longer has the option of returning home to stay with her friends and family when he's out of town. She has friends back in her hometown. She'd never talked about them much. She's also refused to get a job for years, even though she has 3 degrees and built up a decent resume before meeting my father. The most interest she's shown was a few years ago, when she wanted to be his personal assistant. Can Youp's father and Trudy get a dog? Reply, she wanted to, but my father was worried about the furniture. Update. Aita, for telling my father's girlfriend that it's not my fault she doesn't have any friends. It's been almost 2 weeks since I posted here. I wouldn't say I've sorted everything out, but I'm satisfied with what has happened. A few days after my post, I reached out to all my friends who know Trudy and told them to either block her on social media or just remove her as a follower. I don't think she was using them to stalk me or anything. She spends a lot of time on her phone. It was actually very unlikely she wouldn't see the story my friend posted that day. But I figured it would be best to prevent this from happening again. I also removed her from my followers. My account has always been private. Anyway, I decided I wanted to have a one-on-one conversation with my father so that we could talk things through. So we agreed to have lunch together on Saturday. We settled on a restaurant near my place and agreed it would just be the 2 of us. The day of, he called and told me Trudy was insisting on coming along to keep us company. I told him no. I wanted to talk to him on my own. We had a small fight because he didn't want to leave Trudy alone. So I told him it was best we rescheduled it. My husband and I had lunch together and took our baby to the park instead. That night I told my husband what had happened, and he said, I love that you're still trying to be nice to them, but I don't think it's working. Between that, your comments, and the fact that I'm exhausted, I decided to give up. I can't force my father and Trudy to listen, but I can at least put my foot down. I called my father the next day while Trudy was at the gym. I told him, in no uncertain terms, that I do not like Trudy and will never accept an offer to spend time with her when he's not around. Even more so now that I have a child. As expected, my father started trying to guilt me right away. First, he went on a spiel about Trudy's life story and how caring and devout she is to everyone around her. He told me about how much she loves me and wishes we could spend more time with her. This wasn't the first time I heard all of that. It was the first time I told him I didn't care. I'm glad she loves me, but I have no obligation to love her in return. I could spend hours listing all the reasons I don't like her, but I don't think she has to care about that. We're not friends, and we're not family. That argument actually went on for a while. But eventually, the subject shifted to Trudy's lack of friends. I reminded him that they live in one of the most popular streets in our city, and there are dozens of things she could do to meet new people. My father said he knew that, but Trudy didn't want to try any of them. I told him that in that case, there was nothing else I could do. Trudy can either start putting herself out there or continue her lonely routine. Either way, I won't be part of it. My father said he wouldn't try to push me to hang out with Trudy anymore, but he can't guarantee she'll do the same. I can live with that. And I reassured him I'll never stop being polite to Trudy, but I won't start liking her just because they want me to. He said he could live with that. My husband and I have come up with multiple theories about why Trudy is so fixated on having her life revolve. Around my father's, we call her Terminator Housewife for a reason. but I've always thought it was very unhealthy for both of them. I hope she does decide to start meeting new people and doing stuff on her own. But I won't be treated as her babysitter anymore. My son is my #1 priority. Thank you for your reassurance. I don't think this is over, but I don't plan on updating again as I'm very busy and very tired. Cheers! Relevant comments commenter 1. I am glad you are satisfied with the outcome and wish you all the best, and that it stays that way. However, I would not be surprised if the Terminator housewife starts to crank up her crazy. Sane people react very differently to rejection than crazy ones, and I would not count lonely Trudy to the sane ones. Reply, oh yeah, this isn't over in the slightest. But I think my husband and I are prepared, and I'm glad my father knows I don't like her now. I don't support running around telling people you don't like them like a preschooler. But God, did it feel good to get that off my chest. Commenter 2, I hope you are able to still have time with only your dad. I'd hate for him to not be allowed to spend time with just you because his girlfriend is too emotionally stunted to realize he needs a separate relationship with you. Kudos to your husband. He sounds like an amazing partner. Reply, so do I. It's not easy right now that my son is here. But Trudy insisting on tagging along every single time wouldn't surprise me. This wasn't the first time she said she'd do it to keep him company, and my husband is indeed amazing. How did Unel's father and Trudy meet if she doesn't socialize that much? Reply, I genuinely don't know. She was an affair partner before she was a girlfriend, so they're both pretty secretive about the first months of their relationship. What I do know is that she has friends in her hometown. Commenter 3. That explains why she sticks to your dad like glue. So he was cheating on someone else with her? You could just tell her you have a difficult time befriending people who don't practice fidelity as a core value. Reply, I don't think it's that simple. I think she has her vision of a future in which she depends entirely on her partner and never has to worry about anything, as long as her life revolves around him. I think she wanted someone to be codependent with. Commenter 4. I am baffled that this woman who's in her 40s can't just join an online D&D group. And she goes to the gym? Aren't there group activities where she can socialize in those places? Reply, she talks to people at her gym, but not enough for them to consider her a friend. And one of the many reasons I don't like her is that she's extremely judgmental of other women. So, I wouldn't be surprised if that became worse in that kind of environment. The problem isn't that she's unable to socialize. It's that she doesn't want to do it. What does Oop plan to do if her father doesn't tell her that Trudy was going to tagging along? Reply? It would depend on the setting, honestly. I have no problem being cordial with Trudy or going out with the two of them. But if my father just brought her unannounced after agreeing, it would just be us. I'd choose whatever way to proceed that felt both appropriate and fair to both of us. However I acted, we'd probably fight about it later. I don't like it. But he can always just not lie to me. Oop on spending time with Trudy. Reply. Spending time with Trudy is so incredibly draining that my husband and I have left his gatherings early because we couldn't take it anymore. My relationship with my father was never perfect, but it's a million times better when she's not around. When I was in my early 20s and he noticed, I'd spend less time with him when she was visiting. My father would argue that I'd get used to her too. I never did. By draining, I mean having a conversation with her is exhausting. It's like listening to a song you hate, but smiling through it because your friends like it. Trudy, the type of person who, when she wants something, will try to mold something else into it, instead of just looking for it. She often expects whatever situation she's in to revolve around her. She doesn't care about anyone else's boundaries, schedules, or needs if they're stopping her from doing something she wants. On a deeper level, Trudy is prejudiced against pretty much anyone who's not like her. I've stated this elsewhere. But Trudy's extremely judgmental of other women. She's also very conservative, which I'm not, so she tends to judge me specifically. She doesn't do that openly, but it's obvious. Additionally, she's very talkative again, not inherently bad and annoying. She acts like a teenager, and the topics she likes talking about reflect that. And there are many other reasons why I don't like her. I don't expect her to change, and I don't think my opinion on her needs to be her problem. But if I can avoid spending time with her, I will. Stories number 11 Aita 4. refusing to allow my BF's best friend to come to dinner over a dirty coffee mug. So, my F23 boyfriend M25, we can call him David, has about 5 guy friends. I like all of them, and we've been on good terms for years. About once a month, I tell my boyfriend to invite them over for dinner. Usually I cook, clean the table, and do the dishes. It's a labor of love, and I enjoy doing it. This tradition has been going on for years. Most of them put away their dishes in the dishwasher, but I do the bulk of the work. Now, David BF is closest with Mark M25. About a month ago, Mark broke up with his GF, and he has been hanging out at our place almost every day. We all work from home, so he just shows up in the morning. I don't mind this either. David asked me if it was all right. What I mind is that Mark is a freaking slob. Multiple coffee mugs all over the house, water cups, crumbs on the counter, dirty dishes, even his dirty socks once. I made several comments to Mark that this is not dinner night, and if he is going to be over so much, he is not going to be treated as a guest, and he needs to learn to clean after himself. He only rolled his eyes at me. I told David 2 weeks ago that Mark needs to learn to pick after himself. They had a talk, and Mark did make an effort for a few days, but we are back at square one, David. Saw me getting frustrated, so now Mark comes over once a week, and David is quick to clean up after him. It still bugs me the wrong way, so yesterday, when I felt like having people over for dinner, I invited everyone but Mark. David did not ask why. Maybe he figured it out, IDAC. Mark came to pick something today and asked me why he wasn't invited, and I told him. He was surprised and called me petty and said that it was unfair to be singled out over a dirty mug. I told him that unless he changes, I am not cooking for him. He is welcome to come over and have David wait on him, but not me. I don't know if it is important, but the house is David's. We live together. He got upset, called me an a-hole, and left. Did I overreact? I can't tell at this point. Edit. To add, since a lot of people think I am cosplaying a trad wife, consider that I've known these people for 6 years. They are my friends at this point. My own friends have serious food allergies. So anything out of my kitchen is inedible to 2 of them, which makes for a crappy dinner invitation. I want to do this? No one is making me, no one is forcing me to slave in the kitchen. My cooking is a hobby. I am more than happy to share it with people. I do feel obligated to set up and clean up. I am the one to invite them. So it only happens when I feel like a commenter. Maybe that's why his girlfriend broke up with him. Commenter 2 NTA, excuse me. He rolled his eyes at you when you asked him to clean up after himself. He would have never been invited back to my house after that. My husband wouldn't let his friends treat me that way. Commenter 3. It wasn't petty. It wasn't just a dirty coffee mug. It's your home. It's also your boyfriend's job to sort this out. If I was told I was being petty by someone who treated my home like it was kindy for fully grown people, he wouldn't be welcome back at all. He can host the dinners at his place. Commenter for NTA Mark is taking advantage of your hospitality and being a bad guest. But your boyfriend also needs to step up and handle his friend. It's not reasonable that Mark is coming over every day, and especially so if he's not cleaning up after himself. Your boyfriend should be holding a firmer line with Mark and requiring him to clean up after himself or be uninvited. Not just following Mark around cleaning up after him. You should also do more to advocate for yourself and stand up to your boyfriend. Are you actually truly okay with Mark coming over every single day? Why did you have to talk to Mark about his cleanliness? If my friend rolled their eyes at my girlfriend when she asked them to clean up after themselves, that friend would no longer be welcome in my home until they had apologized to my girlfriend and changed their behavior permanently. Reply known. Mark for about 6 years, so it is important to note that we are friends as well. I really don't mind having him over. He is actually pretty easy to get along with, aside from the issue at hand. My BF is reluctant to fight with Mark over this since the adult breakup was really hard and emotionally draining for Mark. He's been going to therapy, and all David did let me know today that he will intervene and back me up if I wanted. Stories number 1, 2, AITAH. For removing the ladder on my bunk bed so my niece can't get to me. My sister F24 just moved back home with her husband and their daughter 5, and son 1. Sister was able to convince my parents to make me F15. Share my bedroom with her daughter? Because she and her husband would already be sharing a bedroom with their baby. She also wanted us to switch bedrooms too, because my bedroom is her old bedroom and a lot larger than the spare room, which was my old bedroom. My parents at least said no to that. We ended up having my bed replaced with bunk beds so it wouldn't be too crowded. I sleep on the top bunk, and my niece started in the middle of the night climbing up into my bed to sleep with me because she was scared. I guess she gets scared a lot at night, but more here, and will go sleep with her parents when she's scared. She is also too scared to go down the hallway to her parents' room because she has to go past the big dark windows in the hallway and past the staircase, which is scary because it's a dark hole. They tried putting in night lights, but that made it worse. I usually sleep deeply so I don't notice her get in. But I wake up sometime after she crawls in because it gets really hot and she's kind of gross because she's sticky with sweat, and I just don't like it. So I realized I don't need the ladder to get to the top bunk and ended up using a screwdriver to remove the ladder from the bunk beds so she can't get to me. I guess she hadn't been sleeping well since I removed the ladder because the school got involved about her being tired all the time, and they got in trouble. My sister thinks I'm being petty and I can just suck it up and let her sleep with me if she's scared. I still don't want to, though. Commenter 1NTA, you're 15, but still legally a child too? You shouldn't be responsible for a child that isn't yours. Tell your parents that your needs and your ability to sleep at night are also important, that your tiredness is impacting your schooling and ability to concentrate, and it's time to revisit the sleeping arrangements as it's not working. Also tell them that having a 5-yo climbing ladders in the middle of the night in the dark and without some kind of supervision is incredibly unsafe for the 5-yo, and this needs to be changed immediately. You need your bedroom back. Your sister and her partner can sleep with and look after their own kids at night. Commenter 2, they are getting free room and board. The least they can do is suck it up and sleep with their kids in their own room. Commenter 3, right? They made the choice to move back in, so they should handle their kids, not dump them on you. Commenter for OP should frame it like, okay sis, you can absolutely have your room back. The bigger room. And with all your newfound space, you have the room to parent your 5-year-old at 3 a.m. instead of forcing a child-free high school student with enough stress about the future to lose sleep doing your job. You wanted the bigger room and you can have it, and everything that comes with it. Up to and most definitely, including your child. Commenter 5, NTA. You removed the ladder because you were afraid she would climb it and fall and get hurt. If she is having trouble sleeping, then her parents have to work that out. Not you, Commenter 6. This is the narrative you want. When you talk to your parents and sister about it, you point out how dangerous it is that she's climbing a ladder unsupervised in the middle of the night. And further, that if she's up there with you, she risks falling out of the bed. You're doing what's best for the child's safety. Since no one else seems to give a damn about that, the fact that it also is better for your situation is simply incidental. Update. My parents didn't make me put back up the ladder and told my sister and her husband that they had to figure something out. So my niece started sleeping in with sister and her husband in their room. It was too crowded for her husband, though, so he started sleeping downstairs. But it didn't work out either because my dad gets up really early. So my sister and her husband started fighting a lot, and he left last week, and I think he is now staying with a friend. So now my sister has to take care of the kids on her own mostly, and apparently it's my fault because her daughter misses her dad too, and he would still be here if I didn't make a big deal out of everything. Commenter 1, she is not your kid. It is not your fault or your responsibility. Commenter 2, exactly. If people cannot provide for and care for children, then they should be smart and choose not to have them. Their responsibility? Commenter 3, none of this is in any way your fault. Commenter 4, her marriage issues aren't your responsibility, and safety boundaries are always valid. Commenter 5, not your fault or responsibility. She can't expect you to share a room with a little child. It's her kid she has to care for, not yours. Anyway, you, as a teenager, need your privacy and quiet too. Your sister should be thankful she has a place to live without paying rent. She sounds pretty entitled, to be honest. Further, what's the plan long term? If it's already not working out for them now, and they fight, do they plan to move out soon? What's the reason they moved back home? Reply, my parents told me that they were having money problems. They said they were going to let them live here for a year to get back on track. But that's it. Stories number 13. Contacted by daughter whose life I'm not involved in via FB. How do I respond? When I was 20 years old, I dated a girl for about a year. Our relationship was okay, but we were both going in such different directions. Towards the end of our relationship, she found out she was pregnant. I put on a full court press for abortion. Neither of us were in a place to be parents. I was 1,000 miles away from all of my family, still in school, and still very immature. She did not have the abortion. We dated for maybe 3 months of her pregnancy. I cheated on her. We broke up. I talked to her a few times afterwards, and we both agreed I would be an awful parent and that it would be best for us to go our separate ways. I saw my daughter one time when she was 2 months old, so this was, I think, summer of '95. Eventually, from what I understand, she married some other guy and she is happy. I felt a lot of guilt over everything that has happened, and I'm not proud at all of my actions. They were cowardly. I've thought about reaching out and trying to establish a relationship with my daughter, but it seems a little too late for that now. Sorry to make this my life story, but I will get to the current situation soon. I ended up meeting my wife in 2000, and we got married in 2002. We have 2 kids, a 7YO daughter and a 5YO daughter. I am a great dad to my girls, and I've tried my best to be the most involved, loving father I can be to them. Maybe a lot of this is motivated with regret to how things went with Emily. I love my wife, and we have a great, steady, happy marriage. My wife nor my family knows about Emily, the daughter from the earlier relationship. I've sort of just put that part of my life in the past and tried not to go there. I'm deeply ashamed of how I ended things then, and there is a real stigma to being an uninvolved father. I've never really said much to anyone about that child. Aside from some friends during my college years who I'm not in contact with almost, no one knows about her. Fast forward to Wednesday morning, I'm on Facebook, and my account is mostly set as public for work purposes. I'll occasionally get messages from people in my past who will just say hi and say the usual friendly, "Your family is so beautiful," or whatever. On Wednesday morning, I woke up to a message from a 17-year-old girl whose first name was Emily. Definitely out of the norm since I don't really have much contact with teenagers. I poked around a bit on her page and everything seems to add up. She looks like her mother and has her last name, and the page seemed active. So I am fairly sure it's not a prank. Her message said, "Hi, I'm the daughter you don't care about. I just wanted you to know that we are fine without you. You are a scumbag, and I hate knowing that I am even related to you. How can someone just leave a woman who loves them and a baby? Do you even have a heart? I hope you die." Obviously not at all what you want to see from my point of view. I was really hoping it would have been some sort of friendly message and we could have built up a relationship. I assume her mother has been telling her less than positive stories about me based off her message. I'm not sure how one responds to something like this. I've sat on the message for a few days trying to figure out what to say. I'm debating too either. Not respond and ignore the message, or respond in a very friendly manner and just not address the nasty things she said. Respond in a more stern manner and try to clarify things. Or only respond to Emily's mom. I haven't spoken to her in approximately 15 years though, so I don't know how that would go. Any advice would be greatly appreciated, TLDR. My 17-year-old daughter, whose life I'm not involved in, sent me an angry message through Facebook. I'm not sure how I respond to her, if at all. Also the ages, if need be. Me, 38. Emily, 17. Emily's mom. 36. Genders should be obvious enough. Relevant com Menites commenter 1. If I were you, I'd contact the mother first. Ask her if it would be okay for you to contact your daughter back. If you have the okay, well, she's a teenager and she has the right to feel that way and say those things. Let her know that. You can also tell her what you just wrote, that you are not proud of your actions and that they were cowardly. Don't say anything to make her even more angry. You don't want an angry teenager contacting you on Facebook, especially if your family is on there too and they have no idea she exists. Why did you decide not to tell your wife about this? It sounds like you and Emily agreed on you not being involved. Before you decide to take the next step, you should seriously consider coming clean to your wife. Reply, the situation is kind of volatile, so I want to act carefully. I think contacting her mom would be best, but I'm not sure she is going to have great things to say to me. I don't want to get her in trouble too. I didn't tell my wife because I was embarrassed by what happened. Saying we agreed on me not being involved is kind of generous. I told her Emily's mom that I didn't want anything to do with the child, and she decided to drop it and not try to force me to be involved. Judging off the message, she must be kind of bitter about it since her daughter has nothing but negative things to say. Not that I blame her for feeling that way. Again, being told to tell his wife telling my wife about this is something I really dread. I've changed a lot since then, and I'm not at all the type of person I was when I was younger. I feel like something like this would fundamentally change how my wife sees me. And it's not like Emily really wants a relationship. It's one thing if the message was in a different tone. I'm clearly the bad guy to her. It's not really worth upending my entire life potentially to talk to her. I don't know what the upside to this is. I can throw a wrench in our lives for someone who doesn't really want a relationship. With me, that said, I don't want to reject her more or make her feel worse. It's really a tough place for me to be in. It's not like some perfect happy ending can be had here. Commenter 2. I can, well, not really understand, but I can imagine your dread, and I'm sure dread is absolutely the right word. I suppose if nothing further at all is ever going to come of this, there's no outright harm in keeping quiet. What I'm more worried about for you, though, is what happens if you get in touch with Emily's mom. Emily lets off some steam and wants to pursue friendlier contact with you, etc. How do you then explain to your wife that not only did you never tell her about this kind of huge part of your past, but you also didn't tell her when Emily contacted you? I'm also a little worried for you because of Emily's age. If there is any chance you could be hit for 17 years of back child support, that would destroy your family, and for your wife to not know about that would just make things that much worse. I'm just saying college is expensive. Reply won't lie. The child support issue is sort of in the back of my head. When we went our separate ways, her mother was sort of proud and claimed she would do it alone. Paying 17 years of back child support would wreck our family and cause a lot of problems. There are so many things that can go awry with this. If she is just angry, then I am going to have to just listen to my child call me all sorts of awful names, which doesn't feel at all good. I take a lot of pride in being involved. Loving dad and having this brought back brings in a lot of feelings of shame. If we end up having some sort of relationship, then I am going to have to come clean to my wife, which will cause some drama. There are these other things like the child support potential, or just all-around drama. From her being in my life again, maybe it is best to just let things lie. The thing is, I know how it feels to feel unloved, and if there is just a hurt little girl there, wanting time and attention from her father, I would feel horrible to just ignore her. I think logically the best choice is to just go on as I've never received the message. The hard thing is emotionally, it just feels so wrong. It feels like another cowardly choice. Responding to how has he changed? Do you want to know how I've changed? I am the best father I can be to my daughters. I do everything for them. I love them, take care of them, support them, and am super involved. I really am a great dad to them. And a lot of why I am so hard with them is because of the crippling guilt of how I feel with how I did Emily. I can't go back and redo things. I'm not really sure what motivated you to decided to verbally lash me. I'm only asking for advice. Update: I decided to test the waters and send her a short message back on Wednesday night. This is what I sent her. Hi Emily. I've wanted to contact you for a long time, and I'm glad you messaged me. I'm glad you and your mother are doing well. You cannot imagine how sorry I am over how things have gone with us, and if there's anything you want to talk about, I would love to that. If you would like, I could explain my side of things. If there's anything I can do, please let me know. A couple hours later, she responded with, "Fuck off, you are dead to me, so that is that." I tried. I guess time will tell if she tries to reconnect again, but I'm not sure if there is much else I can do. I'm working on a way to tell my wife about this, and I'm going to tell her soon once I figure out how to. I shouldn't have kept this a secret. My wife is my partner, and she deserves to know about it. If anything, she can help me handle all of this. I was hoping Emily would be more open, and the raw anger was just a front, but I think it is how she feels. It's a shame because I think we could have had a good relationship. It's not her fault, of course. All I can do now is continue to be the best dad possible to my younger daughters, who love and adore me. TL Doctor tried to reach out to a strange daughter. Was shot down. Relevant CIO Momentous Commenter 1. Wow, you tried so hard. This totally lets you off the hook now. What a great dad. That message, poetry, it's almost 4 words from you for every year of her life. What more could she need from her father? Reply, did try. I'm not sure what else I should have said. I think I made it clear I'd love to have a relationship with her, and I'm sorry, and there is more to the story than what she has been told in my message. I didn't want to cross a line of being too fatherly in my message and tried to be respectful of the distance between us. I don't think she wants a relationship with me. It's her choice at the end of the day. I can't force it. Do you have any recommendations for what I should do differently? I feel like she is sending a strong signal that she doesn't like me and wants nothing to do with me. Has Uma told the wife yet? I'm not caught, per se. I'm not sure how she is going to take it. I'm so different than how I was back then. My wife is big on family and is pretty conservative and traditional. I'm still a ways from telling her because I can't figure out how to frame it when talking to her. I'm hoping to talk to her about this within the next couple months. So if any update is coming, it'll be a while. I know it's going to come out sometime, and honestly, it's a miracle it hasn't until now, and that it's better for me than someone else. Commenter 2, why are you waiting a couple months? What will be different then? You know you're running the risk that your daughter will contact your wife, don't you? It would be simple for her to do it, and if she feels that you're not trying to build a relationship with her, she'll just get angrier, and then it's almost inevitable that she will do it. It's hard to think of a reason why she wouldn't do it. Reply, just need time to figure out how to tell my wife this. We have a lot of things going on in the next few weeks, so it's not a great time to drop something like this. People said this in my first thread, and I still don't understand why she would contact my wife. I'm not ignoring her or antagonizing her. I don't see what motivation she would have to do that. I'm not ready to talk to my wife today or tomorrow about that. We are going on a family vacation on Thursday for 10 days, and I can't start this conversation before or during. Once we get back and things settle down, I'll bring it up. By then, I'll have had time to think of something to explain why I didn't tell her earlier. Final update, couple. New things have happened since I last posted. I went ahead and replied back to Emily with a much longer, more thoughtful, and apologetic letter. I also spoke to my wife about all of this. Emily didn't respond until a couple days ago, and her response was much more calm in tone, which was relieving. I'm not going to repost what she said, but it was basically just, I wasn't there before and she doesn't want me here now. There was some more to it, but it was kind of personal and I don't feel comfortable reposting. I responded to her and said, if that is how she felt, I understand, and I won't respond to her again. So that is where we are on that front. I'm glad we both were able to at least get some closure out of this. I talked to my wife 1 week ago and just laid everything out there. She has been helping me with responding to Emily, and she has been way more understanding than I expected. I explained to her how things went down and how ashamed I am about everything. About how I've tried every single day to make it up with our daughters. She understood me completely, and she stood by me. I am so glad I chose this woman as my wife. I was panicking about her leaving or divorcing because of some of the comments here, but that wasn't what happened. My wife didn't think I should beg Emily, and was taken aback with her vile tone. The first message I sent was a little less than conciliatory, and the second was almost pleading. The later messages were much more composed, and I think better. It looks like this Emily chapter is going to end here. She doesn't want me in her life, and she has made it clear. I offered to listen to her if she needed someone to talk to, and gave her my contact information if she needs anything, but I'm doubtful I will hear from her. It looks like she inherited her mother's stubbornness and pride. I feel comfortable that I've done all I could with her now, I'm spending every day now just being the best dad I can be to my beautiful, loving daughters. TL.Tor. Told my wife about the daughter and reached an understanding with Emily. We won't be having a relationship. Final CIOMMTS commenter. 1. I don't understand why she messaged you in the first place if she doesn't need you. Reply. I'm assuming it was to try to hurt me like she feels I hurt her. There were so many different better ways this all could have happened. It's unfortunate that she didn't want to explore a relationship, but it's her choice at the end of the day. I am going to respect that from now on. Commenter 2, don't close the door on her. She is 17 years old. And to be frank, all 17-year-olds, male and female, can be pretty stupid and emotional at the best of times. Let her grow up a bit more. And maybe she'll try and contact you again. Reply, the door is open. I told her if she changes her mind, we will be here. I've given her my and my wife's contact information if she wants to get in touch, and I told her, I understand and I hope with time she will change her mind. Hazoop told the younger kids. We haven't told our kids, and there are no plans to tell them about Emily. Emily rejected our offers multiple times to talk or meet up or have a relationship. Her choice, of course, but we can't mention her to our daughters under the current circumstances. It's not fair to our girls to mention someone that they won't ever know. It will just be confusing, maybe at a later point. OOP's last comment concerning Emily and the message there. Have been a few comments from girls in the same position as Emily, and most of them have mentioned that the way they re-established contact was much nicer. I think one girl even said her response didn't deserve a reply because of how mean-spirited it was. Emily wasn't raised well. I think that is clear, so maybe there should be a different standard for her. But I think we should expect people to be civil in general. That is all I expected. Civility. I think maybe I deluded myself into thinking if she reached out it would be different. That she would say something like, I really want to meet you, or I'd love to talk. Not I wish you were dead. Stories number 14. Am I overreacting for seriously reconsidering my relationship after what my boyfriend did during my medical emergency? A couple of weeks ago, I had a sudden medical scare. I won't go into details, but I ended up in the ER, and it was serious enough that they kept me overnight. It was terrifying. I called my boyfriend. We'd been together 2.5 years and lived together. He didn't answer, so I texted and told him what hospital I was at. No response. He finally showed up 9 hours later, around 2 a.m. His excuse? He was at a bar with his friends and didn't want to ruin the vibe. That's literally what he said. I didn't want to ruin the vibe. He told me I seemed fine over text, so he figured it could wait. I was hooked up to monitors, scared out of my mind and alone. I honestly don't even remember what I said to him when he walked in because I was half asleep and emotionally drained. But since then, I haven't been able to look at him the same. He's been acting like it was just bad timing, and that I'm blowing it out of proportion by being distant. He said I'm being cold and making him feel like a bad person over one mistake. But the thing is, I can't stop thinking, if that's how he acted during an emergency, how can I trust him long term? What happens when something worse happens? Now I'm being told by mutual friends to give him a break because he's young. We're both 21, and guys, it's panic in situations like that. But to me, it's not about panic. It's about choosing not to show up. Am I overreacting by thinking this is something I can't just forgive and forget? Commenter 1, this kind of story confounds me. Because, sweetheart, what happened to you in your life that makes you question the shittiness of this behavior in any way? How can you doubt for 1 second that this is not the correct response? You deserve better. And therapy. To figure out why you did not understand within the first 5 seconds that he was wrong. Look into why you think this way and how you can learn to demand better, replied. Why I've always tried to put the bad aside in people. I've always hoped for changes in diff life scenarios, so I believe PPL can change. It's hard to keep letting go of PLPI love. Me and his relationship go farther back with just being friends before. You're right, though. I really just don't appreciate myself as much as I should. It's so confusing on what to do. Why I struggle with putting others first over me? Such a people pleaser. Reply, commenter 1, I used to think this way. Couldn't say no. Put everyone's needs before my own. couldn't see how great I was, and thought if anyone else saw it, there must be something wrong with them. I would walk in the road in case I got in the way of anyone on the pavement. That level of self-negation is crazy, but not unusual. We're like this because of early childhood experiences. These ideas and beliefs about ourselves are put inside us when we are small. Ways we had to behave to survive. Things grown-ups told us. Things we just observed and created our own messages about. You often don't even realize these ideas are there. You act on them unconsciously. Your brain thinks you need to follow these beliefs and ideas to stay safe. And because they were put there at a time when we were figuring everything out, and because we often don't notice them, they can be incredibly hard to shift. But we can shift them by catching them when they come up and questioning if they are true. Are they helping us or hurting us? Will the world end if you don't follow them? What's the worst thing that could happen if you acted in a way that was best for you? If you acted on the idea, even if you don't believe it yet, that you deserve better, or that people should treat you better, and the behavior you're questioning actually isn't acceptable, is the worst that could happen really so terrible? How does it compare to the alternative? If you can't access therapy, I highly recommend looking up Byron Katie. I've never been a huge fan of self-help books, but her book Loving What Is changed my life, or at least started the process. It's by no means perfect or the complete answer, but it will help you take a gentle look at a lot of the ideas you have about yourself and others and learn to change them, so you can be better and kinder to yourself, and take less shit from cockwombles like your boyfriend. Commenter: 29 hours in a bar? That sounds weird ASF? No. Something seems a little fishy with his story in a commenter 3nor. He literally chose a night at a bar over you. Even though he thought you sounded fine, you're still in panic and alone. And also, medical emergencies can be fine at first and turn almost deadly in seconds. I don't know if he didn't think about that or just didn't care. Since he isn't even apologizing or hearing your point, I assume that the future holds a lot of alone nights in the hospital, especially if you're thinking it's about having kids with this man. Stories number 15. My friend attempted suicide, and we have all realized we didn't treat her as good as she treated us. Even the night of the attempt, she thought about us and baked us all treats to leave so. I'm 27 meters. I have a friend group from college with a few girls and guys 25 to 28. This one girl, who I considered one of my closest friends, attempted suicide last week. I and the rest of the group realized we never did for her what she did for us. She showed up at my house that night with these cookies. She makes what I'm always telling her how much I love them. She hugged me and left. I knew it was off and ignored it. Should have trusted my gut and asked her to come, and turns out she went to everyone's house that night. She made everyone their favorite. She was always doing nice stuff for everyone, and we all realized we never did it for her. If you needed a favor, a ride, anything, she was the one. If you were sad and she knew it, she was bringing dinner. None of us ever did that for her, I realized. Even when her mother passed away, none of us went out of our way to do anything nice for her. I actually don't think anyone checked on her after a few weeks, the worst part of all of this. 1 week before, she asked all of us if we wanted to go for dinner, and we were all busy. We realized it the other night at my house. She texted everyone. I don't even know why. She's the sweetest and has always been the most caring person I've met. Never saw any of this coming because she was always smiling, always sweet. Very luckily, she failed. When I get to see her again, I'm going to change things. Commenter 1. Stories like this remind me that depression and suicidal thoughts can look like anyone. I'm glad they are still with us. Be nice to your neighbors. Everyone. Commenter 2. Are you waiting for her to get well to initiate visiting you? She's unwell and needs support now. You want to make amends? Make them now. Find out how she's doing and turn up with gifts, packages, etc., whatever she needs, even if you're unable to see, or pass it on to her family if she's being hospitalized. Then continue to check on her regularly until she's well. You all are such shitty friends. Commenter 3. Y'all didn't even check on her after her mom died. You and your friends all need to work on being better people in general. Not even bare minimum checking on a friend after the death of a parent. That speaks volumes about every one of your characters. It's great you realize this now. But dude, it shouldn't have taken a damn near suicide to make y'all realize you were treating a friend that way you can redeem yourself. Please do. Commenter for do better from now on. Because honestly, you guys sound like awful friends. I lost my dad over a year ago, and it wrecked me. My friends found ways to check in on me and be there for me. And I was able to get through a lot of my depression surrounding it because of them. How could none of you be there for her? My sympathy lies with her and what she is going through. I'm giving you a reality check, which I'm sure this situation gave you, but I'm saying it anyway. Do better, be better for her. She deserves better out of all of you. Stories number 1. 6 Aita for buying dishware at a thrift store before someone else could. This happened a few weeks ago, and I can't stop thinking about it. I went to Goodwill and saw a really lovely set of wood plates and 2 matching bowls. I actually needed them for their intended purpose. I was going to grab the stuff, but there was this woman standing in front of them with her phone out loudly complaining about how she can't find the maker's mark on the dishware as the bottoms were left blank. I assumed she was one of those resellers as her cart was filled to the brim with glassware, and I did see a leather jacket in there too. I walked up next to her and asked if she was going to buy the dishes. She glared at me and said yes, and told me to get lost, she was here first. So I just said, fine, no need to be rude, lady. It was a simple yes or no question. I walked away to go look elsewhere, and she was now looking in the books. But the wood dishes were not in her cart. I walked over, saw them still on the shelf, and put them in mine. As I walked away, she came back and noticed I had them in my cart, and she started flipping her shit, telling me she was going to buy, as they were from a super high-end artist. I told her she walked away from the shelf and left them there if she really wanted them. She should have put them in her cart. She immediately started grabbing my cart and taking out everything from my cart as I found a hoodie thing called the Comfy, some vintage Pyrex in a collectible pattern. She said, I am taking money away from good people like her, and that she was losing sales because of people like me buying shit to use and not resell. I yelled to take her hands off my shit, and by this point, an employee stocking nearby came over and asked what was going on. Lady tried to say I stole stuff from her cart. I said she was stealing from mine. Reseller lady looked around and saw a different employee had taken her abandoned cart she left in the book section and was putting her stuff back. She freaked out, dropped my stuff, and ran after him. I looked at the employee who then just waved me off, and I left with mount purchases. Told some people about it, and a close friend said I should have just given her everything because reselling is her job, and another friend agreed with her. But they only said that when I said the Comfy was a $50 garment. Commenter 1, NTA. The whole point of thrift stores is people. Like you reusing instead of it going in the landfill? People would argue she buying cheap and reselling. Expensive are the leeches. Thank you for helping the environment. Good on you for saving money. And great, you got something to appreciate. Commenter to resellers are the reason thrifting has gotten so expensive. You are definitely NTEA. Commenter 3 people like her are the reason thrift stores raise prices. Thrift stores are not there just for resellers. They're there for people that need things. Commenter for you should have given her everything because reselling is her job. What kind of scalper logic is that? NTA Commenter 5 NTA. She walked away, signaling she did not want those items. If she wanted them, she should have grabbed them. Especially knowing you were interested, and in the store stories number 17 AITA. For making my brother's girlfriend cry and feel unwelcome in my house after our mother died. My brother 28 and I 26F bought our house together because we couldn't afford to live in the house our mom was renting. We moved in July, and I thought things were going to be fine until he got a girlfriend, his first girlfriend. He's been dating her for less than 3 months. She left a very bad first impression with me sloppy drunk. Breaking stuff in my guest room, etc., so I already didn't like her much. She was coming over most weekends, which wasn't a big deal until she started coming over much more frequently. Suddenly, she was always around and wouldn't go home. They met through work, so they would stay over, go to work together, and come back home together. Wash, rinse, repeat. It's overwhelming for me while I'm grieving in a new job, and just bought a house trying to move in to have a stranger over every single day. I've raised this Problem with my brother multiple times that she's always here. He refuses to see a problem with it, because she just hides in his room and they're not in my space. He says he thought I'd be more supportive of his relationship. She says, oh, I'm not coming over tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes because she's over every day. She said she was going to be over every other weekend, which was also a lie. When my brother went out to pick her up from her house, I was in the kitchen cooking myself dinner, and when I saw her, I snapped. I asked him if she was homeless and called her out about lying and still coming over every day. She just giggles and says, sorry, which I said, it's not cute, it's not funny. The next day my brother talked to me and said I was really rude and made her cry. This girl, 28, is also a divorced single mother. Without either of them asking me ahead of time, my brother said her daughter too was coming over. I was extremely not okay with that. As we don't have a toddler-friendly house, lots of fragile items, glass furniture everywhere, multiple pets, he did not consider anything I had to say since I can't tell him who he can and can't have in his house. It's just as much his house as it is mine. I think I can draw the line at minors. I stayed the night with my friend because I didn't want to be home with a screaming toddler. He then told me that the daughter would be coming over once in a blue moon, which turned out to be a lie when she was over a week or so later. I called him out on the lie, and he said he always intended it to be on a monthly basis, hoping to increase frequency. I explained that monthly is a regularly scheduled basis and, in fact, not once in a blue moon. He said he's trying to be respectful of my schedule and not have her over on nights I need to go to work in the morning, which also turned out to be a lie. She was over 5 days in a week, 3 days in a row. Things really went left the other night when she started screaming at midnight and she threw up all over the guest bed, which is my deceased mother's furniture. I was furious, and I had work in the morning and went for an angry drive until 1 a.m. She left her kids' toys, books, and a dirty diaper in the guest room for 3 days following the incident. I have made my boundaries extremely clear, and all of them just trample all over them. He's been making me feel like I'm crazy and irrational since she's not in my space or bothering me. It's the principle that I don't want someone in my house every day. I've told him I want out of this house and to buy me out of my half, or for the girlfriend to buy me out of my half so they can play house together and I can move out. He says that's not an option, even though I know he has the money to buy me out. TL Doctor. My brother's girlfriend is over every day, brings her toddler over, and doesn't care what I have to say about what's going on in my house. Comments commenter. 1. I think you're going to need an attorney for this one if you both own the house. You're better off selling the house either fully, selling or splitting any profit after the mortgage is paid off, or him buying out your half of the interest, than trying to make him listen to your boundaries. Commenter 2. You can force the sale of the house. You can file a partition action to force either a buyout or a sale. Unto commenter 3, your bother is the problem. He is upsetting your home. She is bothering you. If you've bought this house with your brother, he has to buy you out or move in with his girlfriend and let you buy him out. Or sell the house outright and split the proceeds. Of course, there's not much at this early date. If you have a lease, you can inform your landlord that your brother has moved in his GF and child in. Get them on the lease, and you get out of it. Commenter for NTA. Honestly, you've been more than patient, and it sounds like they're completely disregarding your boundaries. It's your house too, and you shouldn't have to live with someone else's kid and a girlfriend who's constantly over. I get that he's in a new relationship, but he's crossing a major line by not respecting your space, especially after you've communicated your discomfort. I can't blame you for wanting out at this point. Stories number 18. What I learned living with someone who has the IT factor with women. I've known this guy since high school. He is completely normal. Jokingly, he would call himself ugly, definitely looks a bit odd, and Hayes basically broke. Not in shape, 5'7". Not really into any cool hobbies or interesting lifestyle. Yet women have always been absolutely crazy about him. It's the biggest question mark in my extended friend group. It's the thing that makes you all go, this fucking guy, when he inevitably succeeds for the 1000th time. We are 26 now, and while it sounds like I'm being a hater, I love this dude to death. All his faults, he would describe himself that way, but he's a really great guy in other ways. The point of my story is the last 6 months I have moved in as his roommate, so I finally can closely observe him in his daily habitat, and here's what I've learned. He makes women instantly comfortable. I don't know if it's because he has a lot of sisters or that Hayes slightly effeminate. But he's not intimidating at all, so women will come up to him constantly more, in a friendly way at first. Clearly not lusting after him. It's like he speaks their language. He's super engaging in a weird way that's hard to pin down. He's not even flirting, he's yapping, he's drama dumping, he's asking for tea or talking about horoscopes. Gets a lot of eye rolls from guys, and women often think he's gay. But if someone makes fun of him, he just says he might be gay, or he says he's a proud simp and keeps moving. It's wild. He makes extreme declarations and defends them rapidly. X saw him rapidly argue that the only true straight men are men who have tried sleeping with another man and not liked it. Interestingly, I've noticed he defends them rapidly up to a certain point. If someone ends up taking things too seriously, getting heated, he immediately switches tact and cools the temperature. In the example above, someone who was black started getting heated and he changed course and was like, "Oh, NVMIB. I forgot this only applies to white people," and it immediately calmed everything down. He's failing frequently. Seems largely okay with that. It's a running joke in our extended friend group of guys and girls. Not just how many girls he has been with, how many girls he has fumbled the bag on. When he meets people in public that he messed up a date with, he goes up to them shamelessly and talks about the issue. I even saw him go up to a girl he had hooked up with and her friends and laugh about his dick not working because of alcohol. My mouth nearly hit the floor. He's good at getting girls to kiss him in really juvenile ways. If some girl calls him short, he says, "Have you ever kissed a midget?" If some girl calls him gay, he says there's an easy way to test that theory. I've even seen Hay want to make a mistake. He has no ego. This, I'm realizing, helps a lot. People constantly are saying stuff to him that I would interpret as an attack. Height, sexuality, financial status. He is never defensive and always has a comeback. That makes people laugh, while also not making the other person uncomfortable. Hayes said Hayes never been in a fight in his life, and I believe it. He always has plans. This is something that he had to break down for me when I asked, because I missed the genius of it. He has something he intends to go visit, whether he's alone or not, every weekend. And some weeknights, a show, a gallery, an event. When he is talking to women, and it goes good, he says, "Hey, this is weird, but you've been cool to talk to. I'm going to this event on X day. Are you interested?" If they say no, he knows they aren't interested. If they say, "Damn, that sounds fun. Sorry though, I'm busy that day. Let me grab your IG and maybe some other time," he knows he still has a shot. And if they say yes, he knows she has strong enough interest. Women seem like they have a lot of fun around him, which surprised me because he is not a very fun friend in a guy group. He doesn't get crazy, isn't seen as the funniest guy friend, or the most engaging. When you see him around primarily men, you can see it's kind of a struggle for him, and the conversations are getting stale. But as soon as Hayes around primarily women, it's like Hayes a completely different person, and every joke is landing. All eyes are on him, etc. I'm realizing I just did a wiki article glazing some roommate of mine, but I found observing him really interesting. I'm hoping others get some good insight from this, as while I will never have the IT factor, I think there's some takeaways I can implement into my life. Commenter 1 is a woman. What jumps out to me is that your friend, roommate, is, or at least comes across, as authentic, safe, honest, funny, self-deprecating. Nice without being creepy or fake about it, disarming and somewhat interesting. Every single one of these things, contrary to what some men are taught, convey a healthy and confident man to us. It's attractive. Commenter to the phrase "comfortable in his own skin" springs to mind, which is common advice when it comes to succeeding with women. The problem is actually getting there. Most men are deeply insecure about one thing or another. Commenter 3 sounds like he actually engages in conversation with women as if they are human beings. Commenter for all of this is what women refer to as confidence. There are other things that fall under confidence too, but these are staples. Stories number 19AITH for ditching the rest of the backpacking group. When I was their only ride, so hear me out. 22 meters and my friend from college, 27 meters, were invited on a backpacking trip that was being organized by a friend of his who he met while backpacking in Colorado the year before. The girl, Kaylee 25F, who organized the trip, had booked an Airbnb for us to all stay at the night after we got off the trail from a 3-day trek. There was room enough for 2 people each to the 2 beds, and then room enough for 2 on the pull-out couch. We all paid evenly for the Airbnb. Of course, we thought Kaylee should have priority to have a bed since she had done all the planning. And there was a BFGF couple as part of the 6 of us planning to stay in the Airbnb. So naturally, my friend and I felt we should take the pull-out couch, and this is how it was settled before ever commencing the trip. However, midway through the trek, the couple had to turn around and head home. So now there would only be 4 people to the Airbnb. And naturally so, we thought, my friend and I assumed we would now sleep on the real bed, along with the couple backing out. My friend and I became the only ride for the Kaylee, and the other guy, Tyler, to get back to the airport in Denver. And my friend and I would have a 14-hour drive back after dropping them off. Tyler is a relatively passive character in this saga, as he didn't speak up much for either side, and was designated to be sharing the bed platonically with Kaylee anyway. So you won't hear much mention of him. So such was the case when we landed at the Airbnb that my friend and I set our things next to the real bed that Kaylee hadn't taken, and took a catnap on the bed. Enter Chris Fisher. Kaylee had invited her friend, Chris Fisher, to come hang out for the night. Chris lived in Coon, only a couple hours away from where we were, and apparently was a celebrity of sorts in her circle. So Chris had come in and said hi to Kaylee and Tyler and was briefly introduced to me and my friend. Saying a simple "what's up" in response to the introduction, Chris then was shooting the breeze with K&T and my friend.
Ow.
And I went into the room to organize our luggage. Then we hear Chris say, "I need a shower," and he comes into the room without a word to us and plops his stuff onto the foot of our bed and rummages for his toiletries and hops in the shower. After Chris is out of the shower, the group is talking like they're going to go out for the evening for beers, but I know that we have a 14-hour drive ahead of us the next day after dropping K&T off at the airport. So I tell them all I'm going to hang back and go to sleep for the night. Chris left his bag on the bed, so I moved it to the counter in the living room so he wouldn't forget it. From here, according to my friend, he spent an entire evening out in Grand Lake with the hugest douche he had ever encountered in his life. Fisher could not stop talking about these obscure world records he had broken and or set in the world-renowned sport of ridge running, and his records for most elevation gain in a day by repeatedly going up and down some particular mountain. Kaylee was apparently eating it up as if she was utterly starstruck. If you've seen the movie The Other Guys and recall the attitude that everyone had when encountering The Rock and Sam Jackson's characters. This was, according to my friend, exactly Kaylee's demeanor after returning from a soul-sucking outing. My friend was more than ready to bid Mr. Fisher adieu and proceed to never see his face again. That, unfortunately, was not what happened. Kaylee was beyond upset that I was still in the bed. She wanted Chris to have the bed. She invoked the fact that my friend and I were designated for the pull-out couch from the jump. My friend was sticking up for us, though, saying that not only did it only make sense that we take the real bed after it opened up, but that Fisher had pitched in nothing for this trip. That we weren't even made aware until last minute that he was coming by, and most importantly, that I was already asleep in the bed. Kaylee apparently was absolutely refusing to have it any other way, and would not stop hammering the issue. Finally, Tyler came and woke me up for me to come sleep on the pullout. It was around midnight now, and we needed to be out by 6 a.m. I came into the kitchenette in a sleepy stupor. Here's where I got a real taste of the douche that is Chris Fisher. For 2 hours in the kitchenette, 8 feet away from the couch Kaylee had insisted we sleep on, my friend and I sat there and listened to Kaylee and Fisher drag on and on about all their outdoor adventure prowess, talking about how great they were at skiing, at snowboarding, at setting FKTs on trails. I did not know until this point that vacation activities could be such a flex. But here they prove to me that one can make them one's entire personality and the culmination of an entire life of accomplishment. Looking back now, I should have piped up about how I went to Europe and hiked on the Matterhorn, but they surely would have retorted with how they had gone to Europe too. But even harder. Here is where my friend and I may be the assholes. My friend was staring at me and seething. He hated the fact that they had woken me up, hated the fact that they kicked us out of our bed, and hated the insult to injury of them having the audacity to shoot the shit for another 2 hours right by where my friend and I needed to be sleeping, about 1.5 hours in. As he seethes, he subtly gestures at me to look at my phone. I open my phone and read, "Let's ditch these a-holes." And so, as soon as they finally head to bed, we promptly agree that Chris Fisher, in taking our place in our bed, unwittingly took his place as their ride to Denver, grab our packs by the door, and set out back to Oklahoma at 3 a.m. on the dot, so AWTH. Update 1. Honestly, I had never heard of these people besides, of course, my friend until a week before that trip, and have never heard of or from them since we rode off into the proverbial sunset. So really, my update is that this is a chapter closed for good. Relevant CIOMENTS reply, just in case anyone suspects I'm exaggerating his ego. Here is the famous Chris Fisher in an hour-long interview about his most recent ridge running record he had accomplished just days before our encounter with him. Commenter 1, this interview is from 2 years ago, so the events of the post happened a couple years back. I will probably get downvoted for this, but that's kind of strange, OP. Why are you only posting about it now? Reply, you are 100% correct. It happened a little over 2 years ago, and honestly, forgot about it, but me and my friend from the story are going on another backpacking trip tomorrow and started talking about it while listening to ETH posts, so decided to make one ourselves. This is already iterated in the update link, but I'm not the best at using Reddit, so I might not have done the update correctly. Apparently, Chris Fisher himself found the post and commented on it. Chris downvoted, this is pretty funny. Especially for the part where you actually still drove them to the airport. You did an excellent job manipulating this story, Tanner. Chris commented, bro, with how much you love yourself, why haven't you put a ring on it? You seem like you could be pretty chill, but damn, you seem to let your personal achievements rule your personality. Do you have other hobbies like fishing or kayaking? Are you a snowmobiler or volunteer for anything? Does hiking just envelop your life? I have a close friend who sounds a lot like you where literally every day I talk to him, he has to update me on his PB bicycling time, distance. It's cool you love what you do, but why do you have a personal website listing off all these weird achievements? Are you going to do something in the Olympics someday? Sorry for the verbal diarrhea. I'm genuinely curious. Commenter 3, since you're curious, I do love myself, like you should yourself. But I'm a paid professional mountain athlete, so it's literally my job to post about the things that I do in the mountains. Personally, I hate social media and wish I wasn't on it, but again, it's literally my job, and I love climbing, skiing, and running around the mountains, so I'll continue to do my thing. People that actually know me would speak much differently than this op. It's honestly pretty hilarious that he came up with this whole story. Anyways, hope I answered your question. Have a great evening. Commenter for paid professional mountain athlete. Good luck long-term lol. I'm sure Ray will always be hiring. Chris downvoted. Thanks for the good luck. Things are going very well, and I actually make decent dollar doing what I do. The long term is very promising as I have multiple deals with movie productions companies in the works for a full-time production. Oh, and I also am a professional photographer, and I'm filming for a big-time film for a company ending with Fleek, so I don't think Ray is in my future. But if so, I'll say you recommended the gig. Cheers. Commenter 5, amazing how you make yourself look like an even bigger asshole than the post. Absolute Cinema Commenter 6, so everything else is true? You do realize that you still are a complete douchebag along with your bitch you just took over the room, woke him up. And having the misfortune of seeing some of your speeches gives the impression that you are as much as an insufferable douchebag with main character syndrome, as they said. The only thing the kid did wrong was to not leave the bitch there and not tell you, and her to fuck off about the room you didn't pay for. He's young, though, and hopefully this will be a lesson for him to keep a wide distance from self-proclaimed celebrities and shallow bitches. There's hope for him. Commenter 7. Ha ha ha. Actually, no. Everything is fabricated as well. Go read further comments. But anyways, don't really care about your opinion. You're right. There is hope for the kid. He can go chase his dreams just like I did and go make something of himself. But that's on him. Talking false bullshit about other people won't get him anywhere except for his 15 minutes of Reddit fame. Lol. I never claimed to be a celebrity, and nor am I celebrity. I am a professional athlete, though, and that's all I have said. Commenter 8. You flunked out the Navy. That's not an accomplishment to brag about, but you do. Not exactly the gold standard for being a solid dude right there, Chris. I flunked out of Buds, and I don't brag about it at all. What I do, though, is talk about how it changed my life to lead me to where I am now. Go listen to my TED Talk on YouTube, and maybe your mind will change, and you'll be a little more enlightened. Definitely not bragging about the Navy limo. Commenter 9. Did you ever pay anything for the room, or did you just mooch like an asshole? Chris, being invited in to stay the night by the person who paid for the Airbnb isn't mooching. But I offered to sleep in my truck many of times as I had a sleeping setup in the truck. Commenter 10Y. Would Op need to lie about the ending? Don't get a trip lie. Me and my friend have debated whether we would be assholes if we ended up leaving them, so we decided to make a post about it, to settle which one of us would have been justified. And plus, it makes a better story update. My friend tried to talk me into it, but I said it was too mean to do even in response to what they had done to us. I couldn't bear leaving someone hours away from where they needed to be, though my friend did insist Fisher would surely be a reliable ride to the airport. In reality, we had told them, upon agreeing to be their ride to the airport, that this would necessitate us leaving very early that morning because my friend and I were going to be cutting it close to try and make it back to Oklahoma all in one stretch so he could make it to his 6 p.m. Central Time class that evening. So, even after being treated like dirt, even after them sleeping in and then lollygagging all morning and causing us not to hit the road until about 2 hours after we needed to be on the road, we still drove an hour out of our way that morning to take K and T to the airport, which overall ended up making us too late for his class. We called friends and fam all that day to pick their brains about if we would have been, as I maintained, wrong to leave them, or if we should have, as my friend insisted, left them K and T high and dry. We got mixed reviews from that. We had completely forgotten about the scenario until today, when we were driving on our way to another new adventure, and reading eth posts as we love to do on our car rides, and realized that this story would be perfect for this forum, of course. We were not posting into a forum called, "Would I hypothetically have been the asshole if I had done the thing I thought to do but was too nice to have done?" So we had to add to the story the alternate ending that we've always wondered about. So, sorry for embellishing, Chris, but I'm not sure how the reality here paints you in any better of a light. The truth sets us free, I suppose. Relevant CIOM, me and Tess commenter, one still in TALMAO, and you were still kind enough to take them to the airport, and they delayed your trip by 2 hours. You are better than me, XD. I would have left them after 30 minutes. Commenter 2, still NTA, but I'm totally dying to know how the car ride went. Reply, we were stuck with them. So we got over our feelings and just pretended like it didn't happen. I try to just go with the flow, and since I was stuck in a car with them, why make it miserable for everyone just because I was mad? Commenter 3, I hope y'all aren't friends anymore. That was really shitty reply. Lol. After them finding the post and messaging me about it, I don't think they want to be friends anymore. Not that we were friends anymore anyway. Chris found the update and responded a comment. Commenter 4, so after all that, and them oversleeping, Chris didn't even offer to take them to the airport. He should have kept his mouth shut. Unto commenter 5, mouth shut. About what? I didn't say a word to anybody. I didn't kick anybody out, and I didn't stay up until 3 a.m. talking. Nobody overslept. Nobody was late for anything, and we all had a wonderful breakfast the next morning. Commenter 5. Right. Think Chris may have gained some respect here by piping up like a gentleman, or just a decent human being, actually. It seems like he stood idly by like a snake watching Kaylee be the one to make the fuss. when all he had to do was say he'd take the pullout. This whole aisle just sleep in my truck. B.S. was obviously just false piety intended to make Kaylee feel bad for him. TL dur OP. And his friend was invited on a 6-people backpacking trip, and they rented an 4-bed Airbnb. The couple left out, so Oap and his friend would sleep on the bed, and Oap would be the designated driver 14-hour drive. However, Kaylee invited Chris Fisher, who didn't pay for anything, and she kicked out Oop of the bed to let Chris sleep in. To make things worse, Kaylee and Chris chatted for 2 hours on the couch, the place Oop and his friend was dragged to sleep in. So Oop and his friend ditched the backpacking group and went home, but was still naive enough to drove the group to the airport. Stories number 20, bride never confirmed. Now it's awkward, long story short. She just moved here and doesn't really have any friends. We know each other for almost a year and only hung out maybe 3 to 4 times. She's getting married on Saturday and a couple weeks ago. She asked me to be her bridesmaid because she's not close with anyone else. I told her I'm shy. I've never done that before, and I wasn't sure how it works. I even asked if she really needs one since it's a small wedding. That's what she told me in the beginning. Oh. She said she will check with the church and then never say anything about that again. So I thought she found someone else or didn't need one. This is my first time attending a wedding, so I don't really know how it worked fast. Forward to tonight, Thursday. She asked if I'm free tomorrow for a rehearsal at 4 p.m, and I told her I'll be at work. I was confused why a guest would need to attend a rehearsal, so I asked, and she said I'm her bridesmaid, which totally shocked me because she never confirmed about it after that, I told her. I thought you found someone else or didn't need one anymore. I really can't because I'm not even prepared for the wedding yet. I was thinking I was just a normal guest, like everyone else. She said it's okay, but I still feel really bad about it. How do you guys usually handle something like this? Am I in the wrong for saying no? Commenter 1, you are not in the wrong, but dang, I can't help but feel bad for her. My fiancé is introverted and does not even want to ask anyone to be the best man or have groomsmen because he thinks everyone will say no. I still have a year to convince him. Otherwise, replies she's really introverted too, which is why I feel bad. But from what I've heard, she's going to have another wedding back home with her close friends attending. So I think she'll have her friends as bridesmaids. When that wedding comes, commenter 2, I think she needed a friend. And this was a good opportunity to show up for her on one of the biggest days of her life. Commenter 3. Oh no, I feel so bad for the bride in this situation. Are you able to help her get ready and celebrate in the morning? It's also confusing because you didn't say no when she asked you to be a bridesmaid. Saying you've never done it before is not the same as saying no. So she may have took it as a yes and that you were just setting expectations. Asking if she even needs a bridesmaid is an odd question because technically no one needs one, but clearly she wants you to be hers, and that's why she asked you. There's so much unnecessary confusion from both sides. I hope you're able to sort it out and support your new friend in the way that you feel comfortable, commenter, for lots of miscommunication between you two, and really poor planning on her part. You didn't explicitly tell her no. Now, she may have taken that as a yes, but she didn't communicate any of the expectations, especially when it pertains to a dress or the details of the rehearsal. I genuinely cannot fathom asking someone to be a bridesmaid 2 weeks before a wedding. It's not telling them about the rehearsal dinner until 2 days prior, and not specifying anything about a dress. It sounds like maybe this is an extremely laid-back, casual wedding, in which case it may be okay for you to accept a last-minute bridesmaid proposal. If you are planning on attending as a guest, and she has essentially zero expectations in terms of attire, then you could go as a bridesmaid and just get ready with her and stand beside her. Again, it sounds pretty back if the planning is any reflection of the wedding itself. So she probably doesn't have very high expectations. Stories number 21. My partner's wife messaged me asking why I'm still sleeping with her husband. Turns out he is still married. I've known my partner from late 2021, and we met physically beginning of 2022, somewhere in mid-2022. I asked for space, as I needed time to handle my concerns, which were pretty much important to me. Well, I am the eldest in my family. 2 of my siblings needed to join college, and I was just working on getting myself stable in my first job in a new country. This was quite difficult for me because I am an orphan and being the eldest girl in the family. It was heavily weighing on me, not only financially, but also mentally. I am not used to get financial help from people. I thought I'd handle this and get back. My partner, however, did not understand how this was to me and why I needed the space. Seemed strange to him, I think, and he did not take it very well. He pushed quite hard, which made me drift further away. I was not in the best shape at the time, and I may have treated him in a not-so-good way. I was also unsure if I wanted to settle down seriously with him because of our differences in backgrounds, culture, etc., besides being scared. Fast forward, during this time off, he got another lady pregnant, and they were together. He still had me along, picking me up, taking me to work, etc. After the baby came, not sure how long after, he'd taken me back home, where he let me know he had a child at a parking lot as a result of the time off. It took me by surprise, but I was sure, at this time, I would not have a serious relationship leading to marriage with him. So, we were undefined for quite a long time. When we started out, I had mentioned that I do not prefer a man with a child or a violent person. Don't get me wrong. I think it's hard for some people to set clear boundaries while co-parenting and having different partners, which I now understand, not necessarily men, but all genders. But in my case, it was him, a man. He went against all the things I termed as my deal breakers. Because of this, I have been making changes, including moving to different places and other decisions which were pretty not great. I felt vengeful and hurt, while he did not appreciate this, as he likes being informed or consulted. I was confused, ready to leave, and I made this clear to him. I've always been quick to walk away in 2025. After talks of reconnecting and building something more stable, I thought I could settle down with him. I asked for clear boundaries and clarity. I didn't want confusion over the fact he was with someone else before, and they had a child together. He said he would work in that, and he also wanted me to work on some other things myself. He, however, wanted an assurance from me before handling his issue that I would always be there. But I felt like that was something I would not give. I thought the intention of settling down with him, that he was aware of. Was assurance enough? I needed clarity before. I also felt like he would only be setting boundaries not because he wanted to, but because I needed that too. I think he should only do it if he wants to. One evening we were together. I sneaked around his phone. I've always had doubts, but I was unable to get access to his phone, which I asked him about, because he had given me the password to his phone, and he made an issue out of it. Before this, I've been asking to visit his place, which he says for some reason he would not want, as it reminded him of something traumatic that previously happened between us. I woke up this morning to a text message from the lady he was with before that he wanted to set boundaries with, asking why I am still sleeping with her husband. I am not a husband snatcher. She said they live together. He's been lying about going to business meetings. Turns out the business meetings was me. She said they are married. The guy told me before they weren't. It's not the first time she's reached out to me. I am so sad and emotionally drained. Besides the fact that I am a few weeks pregnant, I've been reconsidering, and the mess is spilling over while I've worked and done a lot to be in a peaceful state for a lot. Well, now, I asked him about it, and he said, it is a ripple effect of him telling her he does not want to be with her anymore and setting the boundaries, and him doing what I had asked. I am frustrated because I wasn't aware they were still together. He had mentioned that she has been outside the country and would only come back for official purposes. When I asked where she would be staying at when she came by, he did not say. He says now they are in the same building, but in different apartments. Asked me to go around today to confirm, but she says they live together. He asked me to move in with him, since his bags are packed already. Why would he be packed if they are not in the same apartment? Or that he could now join me and we'd find another apartment as an assurance that he chose me. I feel like he just wants to calm the crisis for now. I would have appreciated transparency before, but he now says he was afraid of letting me know what's happening in fear of my reaction. He said that I should be standing with him now, but I feel exhausted by the lies and all occurrences. I am afraid I will not be able to trust him again, even if things were to be different, which is not healthy in the long term. Do you think I should stay with him? Give him another chance, perhaps, as he says, if his way is not working, then I should guide him. Stories number 2 to Am I the asshole for telling my ex's parents the reason we broke up? Hello, THT family. Long-time listener, first time posting on this sub. Sorry in advance if this is long. And if there is grammar errors, so me, 26 female, and my ex, 27 male, broke up after 8 years together. I know, long time. So backstory. Last year in December, he went to Colombia for his brother's 40th birthday. After his trip, he posted on Facebook the pictures of his trips. Cool. I didn't think much of it, until I noticed a girl hearted only the picture he was in by himself. I asked him about it, and told me he didn't know who the girl was. I didn't push further because I didn't see a need to. Come around. April, he brings up about going on a solo trip to Brazil for 2 weeks. I asked him if I could go, since he knew Brazil was somewhere I've always wanted to go. He said no, he wants to go solo, to become more confident and grow as a person. As well, learn about the culture and explore. Since he was the youngest and is in the military, he has always had people telling him what to do. I was like, okay, I trust him. He reassured me everything was going to be okay between us, that he loved me and was coming back to me once on his trip he would. Decline my calls and only want to text me. I thought this was weird. Didn't push it and just waited. The day after he was back and he was showing me pictures of the trip, that is when I see it him and a girl on his pictures gallery. I began to question him, whose this girl is. First he lies and says he meant this girl in Brazil. Then when I tell him to delete the girl's number, that's when I see the name. The same name of the girl that liked his Facebook picture? He explains when he was in Colombia, that girl came up to him and they exchanged numbers and said he was single. He says he snuck her into his Airbnb he was sharing with his brothers, and they had sex. That then a month before his trip, the girl reached out to him and invited her to Brazil. I couldn't believe it. For the past 8 months, he looks me in the eyes and lied to me. Besides that, had relationships with this other girl, texted her while I slept next to him. We tried to work it out for a week after, because I truly loved him. 8 years of my life with him since I was 18. We had a future plan out. One day he told me we should break up because there wasn't trust in the relationship anymore. So I said okay. Grab his phone and walk out to the living room to show his parents. We were living in his parents' house. I told his parents everything because they deserved to know that type of person he was. Most importantly, because they didn't raise him to be that way. His mom went to the room to yell at him and his dad stayed to calm me down since I was crying. I even showed his parents the messages and photos they exchanged. After his dad calmed me down for a bit, I went to the room and seen him crying in his bed while his mom was screaming at him. His mom walked out once she saw me and told him he needs to apologize to me and sort his out. As I was packing my things to leave, he began to yell at me about I had no right to tell his parents that, and it should have been him to tell them and decide if he would tell his parents the whole story. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, I do have every right to tell them, because I know you won't have told them. To keep your image clean, one thing to notice was my ex was always seen at the sweet guy that's loved and cared for me. That's exactly what I told him too, that he wouldn't have told anyone because what he did because he's selfish and narcissistic. His parents cried once. I said my goodbyes. It hurt seeing his dad cry because that man was always so serious person. It hurt knowing I lost my other family. My ex walked me to my car and told me he'd forgive me for telling his parents. Then asked if we could drive to get ice cream to talk to have closure. I told him what the fuck is wrong with you. Got in my car and left. Drove around for a bit before having to call my parents if I can move in with them again. So THT family, was I the asshole telling my ex's parents the reason we broke up? Edit to post. Something's to clarify. He went to Colombia from 12/19 to 12/31 of 2024. Is where he met the girl. He went to Brazil this year. 2025 from July 31st to August 13th. On August 14th, I found out everything that it was the same girl, and he cheats with me during Colombia, and obviously in Brazil. August 21st, first is when he told me he didn't see this working out. I told him, okay, that's the day I told his parents the whole story why I was leaving, and what he did in Brazil, but that it started since he was in Colombia. Also, the girl had to know he wasn't single. I was all over his Facebook picture. as well as other social media accounts. Stories number 23. My life changed after I picked up a talking frog on campus. This sounds insane. And I know Reddit is going to roast me, but hear me out. I'm a 23-year-old guy named Eric Miller, finishing my last year of engineering at Purdue. I'm not the kind of person who usually posts online about weird encounters, but this one feels like it belongs in a storybook and a science lab at the same time. So last month, I was walking across campus after a late study session in the mechanical engineering building. It was raining lightly, the kind of Midwestern drizzle that soaks you slowly and makes your sneakers squeak. I was cutting across the main road near the library when I heard this voice, not a person's voice, not a drunk frat guy yelling at me. A tiny, squeaky, but clear as day voice. It said, "Hey, down here, if you kiss me, I'll turn into a beautiful princess." I froze. I looked around. Nobody, just wet pavement, a couple streetlights flickering, the faint sound of someone blasting country music from a dorm window. Then I looked down and there it was. A green frog, maybe the size of my palm, sitting right in the middle of the road now. You've got to understand something about me. I'm an engineer through and through. I live in numbers, machines, CAD models, and problem sets. I do not believe in magic. But when a frog literally talks to you in English, you can't just shrug and keep walking. So I bent down, scooped it up, and stared at it. The frog repeated, "If you kiss me, I'll turn into a beautiful princess." I laughed, like full-on startled laugh in the middle of the empty road. Then I said, "Sure you will." And I stuck the frog in my hoodie pocket. As I was walking, the frog started wriggling. Wait, listen, it said. "If you kiss me and turn me back into a princess, I'll stay with you for 1 week." At this point, I was more entertained than freaked out. I pulled it out of my pocket, looked at its big round eyes, and said, "That's nice." Then I put it right back in. I figured maybe I was losing my mind from too much caffeine and lack of sleep. Maybe someone was pranking me with a tiny Bluetooth speaker hidden in a frog toy. But no wires, no seams. Just a frog, then it upped the stakes. "If you kiss me and turn me back into a princess, I'll stay with you for a week and do anything you want." I chuckled again, shaking my head. "That's generous," I muttered, and slid it back into my pocket. By the time I got back to my apartment, the frog was practically yelling at me. Okay, if you kiss me, I'll stay with you forever. Anything you want, I'll be yours." I pulled it out, looked it straight in the eye, and finally answered honestly, "Listen, I'm an engineer. I don't have time for a girlfriend, but a talking frog? That's actually cool." The frog blinked at me like it couldn't process what I just said. Then it muttered something that sounded a lot like unbelievable and went quiet. Now here's where it gets even weirder. I kept the frog. Yeah, you read that right. I have a talking frog living in a terrarium on my desk. I feed it crickets from the pet store, change its water, and sometimes it mutters sarcastic comments when I'm working on my projects. The first night I introduced it to my roommate, Kyle Reynolds. He thought I'd finally snapped. Kyle's a business major, the type who lives on protein shakes and wears suits to class for networking practice. He laughed until the frog croaked out, "Nice haircut, finance bro." Kyle screamed so loud we almost got a noise complaint. I've since learned that the frog's name is Lila. Yes, she claims she really was a princess from a kingdom far away. I don't know if that's true or if she's got some advanced AI chip in her brain, but either way, she's become company. It's been oddly comforting, actually. I'll be pulling an all-nighter, and she'll say things like, staring at that circuit board won't make it solder itself. Or maybe you should sleep before you turn into a zombie. Do I still think about the whole kiss me and I'll be a princess deal? Sure, but honestly, between classes, senior projects, internship interviews, and trying not to flunk thermodynamics, the last thing I need is the emotional chaos of dating someone who used to be an amphibian. A talking frog, though? That's priceless. So yeah, that's my life right now. I guess the moral of the story is, sometimes you don't need the fairy tale. Sometimes it's enough just to have a weird little green friend who insults your roommate and keeps You company while you're soldering wires at 3 a.m. and before anyone asks? No. I'm not going to kiss her. Not because I don't believe her, but because, for once in my overworked, overcaffeinated life, I'm perfectly content with things exactly the way they are. Update. Life with the frog princess is getting complicated, hey. Reddit. It's Eric again, the guy who found the talking frog and decided to keep her instead of kissing her into a princess. I wasn't planning to post again, but things have gotten weird. Like weird even by I found a magical frog standard, so for context, it's been about 3 weeks since my original post. In that time, Lila, yes, still a frog, still talking, has fully become part of my routine. I wake up, feed her. She criticizes me for eating Pop-Tarts for breakfast, and then I head to class. At night, I usually study while she throws commentary from her terrarium. I've grown so used to it that I forget sometimes she's not normal, but people around me have started to notice. Kyle's reaction, aka my roommate Kyle, still doesn't believe this is real magic. He's convinced she's some genetically modified frog with a voice box. Maybe an escaped experiment from one of the biology labs. He actually tried to Google Talking Frog Purdue campus experiment for like 2 hours. Came up empty, obviously. The thing is, Leela hates him. Like, with a burning passion. Anytime Kyle brings a girl over, she croaks loudly until the girl gets uncomfortable. Once, when Kyle was flexing about his summer internship, she yelled, "Imagine thinking you're special for selling insurance packages." The girl laughed so hard she left early. Kyle hasn't forgiven her. Now he's pressuring me to get rid of it. But honestly, I kinda love the chaos. My parents found out this is where it gets tricky. I went home last weekend because my mom, Janet Miller, 54, insisted I come for Sunday dinner. I debated leaving Leela in the dorm, but I felt bad. Plus, what if Kyle decided to flush her out of spite? So yeah, I took her in a shoebox. Halfway through dinner, she decided to chime in. Right as my dad, Greg Miller, 58, was cutting his steak, she croaked, "Maybe season the meat next time." "Chef?" My mom nearly dropped her fork. My dad froze, knife midair. Then Lila added, "What?" "I'm just saying, little Rosemary wouldn't kill you." Let's just say that dinner ended real fast. Now my parents think I've either joined some underground cult, smuggled government property, or lost my mind. I tried explaining, but how do you rationally explain a talking frog princess who refuses to be kissed? My dad flat out told me to get rid of the creature before it ruined your life. My mom was quieter, but I could tell she was scared. The kiss question, this is the part I've been avoiding. Everyone keeps asking, why not just kiss her? Well, last night, we talked about it. I was sitting at my desk half asleep over a CAD model when she said, "Eric, do you ever wonder what would happen if you just did it?" I admitted I'd thought about it. Of course I have. Who wouldn't? But then I said, if I kiss you and you turn into a princess, what happens next? Do you disappear from my life? Do you even want to stay here? She went quiet for a long time. Finally, she whispered, "I don't know." That answer scared me more than anything, because I realized I like my life with her in it, not as a girlfriend. Not as some fairy tale prize, but as Lila, the sarcastic, dramatic, sometimes annoying frog who has become my best friend. If I kissed her and she vanished, or if she became someone completely different, I think I'd lose her, the strange part okay. Here's the real reason I came back to post. 2 nights ago, I woke up at 3 a.m. to a weird humming sound. Leela's terrarium was glowing faintly, like someone had put a nightlight inside. She was sitting on the little rock, staring at me. She said, "Eric, something's changing. I can feel it." I asked what she meant. She shook her head and croaked softly. "I don't think I'll be like this forever. The choice might not be mine for much longer." That freaked me out. Because now I'm wondering, is there some kind of magical timer running out? Will she transform on her own? Or worse, will she just disappear? I don't know what to do. Do I risk kissing her and losing the version of her I care about? Or do I hold off and hope nothing changes? All I know is, my life went from problem sets and coffee binges to magical dilemmas I am wildly unqualified to handle. And for the first time in a long time, I'm terrified not of failing school, but of losing the weirdest, most unexpected friend I've ever had. That's where I'm at. Sorry this was long, but I needed to get it all out. If anyone has actual advice, magical, scientific, or just emotional, I'm all ears. Because apparently, being an engineer doesn't prepare you for a talking frog who might turn into a princess any day now. Final update. The choice I finally made about Lila. Hey everyone, it's Eric again. This will be my last post because, well, things finally reached a conclusion. And I don't think dragging it out would be fair to anyone, especially Lila. So let me pick up where I left off. The build-up after that weird glowing terrarium moment, I couldn't stop obsessing. Every time I looked at her, I wondered if it would be the last time I'd see her like that. My classes were suffering. My roommate Kyle was beyond done with the situation. My parents kept calling to ask if I'd taken care of it. Meanwhile, Lila got quieter, less sarcastic, less playful. Like she knew something was coming and was bracing herself. One night, when she didn't even insult Kyle's haircut a crime, honestly, I knew something was seriously wrong. That's when she said, "Eric, it's going to happen soon. You need to decide." The decision. I sat there, staring at this tiny green creature who had become my best friend. My heart felt like it was splitting in two. If I kissed her, maybe she'd turn into a princess. Maybe she'd stay. Maybe she'd vanish. If I didn't kiss her, maybe the magic would end anyway. I'd lose her without a chance to say goodbye. So I asked her, point blank, "What do you want?" She looked at me with those wide frog eyes and said, "I want to know what it feels like to be chosen, not avoided, even if it's just once." That broke me. I realized I'd been so focused on my fear of losing her that I hadn't considered what she needed, so I did it. I picked her up, closed my eyes, and kissed her. What happened, I swear, Reddit? I thought I was hallucinating. There was this blinding flash of light, warm and soft, like sunlight breaking through clouds. I dropped her out of pure shock, but instead of a frog hitting the floor, a young woman landed on her knees, coughing and blinking. She was human. She was Lila, dark hair, pale skin, same sharp wit in her eyes. And she was crying, laughing, and crying at the same time. She whispered, "Thank you." The aftermath, I won't lie. Things got complicated fast. Kyle walked in at the worst possible moment, saw me holding a crying girl in my arms, and screamed like he'd walked in on a horror movie. Took an hour to calm him down, my parents. Still skeptical. But after Lila sat down with them and explained as best she could about the curse she'd been under since her teens, they've come around. My mom even hugged her, which honestly shocked me more than the magic, and me. I'm overwhelmed. She didn't vanish. She didn't leave. She's here. But here's the kicker. She's not in love with me the way a fairy tale would script it. She told me straight up, "You saved me, but that doesn't mean we're destined. I don't want to be your girlfriend just because of a kiss." And you know what? I respect that. Because what we built while she was a frog, the friendship, the late-night conversations, the honesty that matters way more than some forced romance. Where we are now, Lilay's staying nearby, crashing at a cousin's place while she figures out her next steps. She wants to experience the world as herself again, not as someone else's princess. We still talk every day. We grab coffee. We roast Kyle together, best bonding activity, honestly. She's even helping me with my engineering projects, because apparently she's got a brain sharper than half my classmates. Will we end up together? Maybe, maybe not. That part doesn't matter right now. What matters is she's free, she's alive, and she chose me to be the one to help her. Final thoughts. When I first posted, I thought this was just a funny little quirk in my otherwise boring life. A talking frog instead of a girlfriend. But now I realize it was never about choosing between a frog and a princess. It was about learning that sometimes love isn't about possession or fairy tale endings. Sometimes it's about listening, choosing courage over fear, and respecting someone's right to be who they are. And in a way, that lesson means more to me than any magic could. So, yeah, that's the end of my story. Thanks to everyone who followed along and gave advice, even the people who just called me Frog Guy. You weren't wrong. But now, I'm just Eric, and I've got a friend named Leela, and that's more than enough.